Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast, where we'll be talking about another trophy win for Tottenham Hotspur in 2025. Now, we are live on YouTube, on Facebook and on X. I am live from Hong Kong right now and I've had the night of my life, actually, and the day of my life. It's been brilliant here in Hong Kong so far. Not only the trophy lift, but I've had a fantastic time with channel regular James Black. Now, on this channel, or on this show, should I say, we've got 3 channel regulars. One of them is an Arsenal fan, but 2 of them are here virtually every week talking about Tottenham Hotspur. We've got Gary Maloney back with us. Gary, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, Chris. Yeah, great game. And it's been brilliant catching up with your stuff in Hong Kong. You and James Black, it's been absolutely... It's been TV gold. I've loved it. Do you know what? Listen, there's no such thing as a friendly when we play Arsenal anyway. But it just looks so much fun out there, mate. And to top it off with a win and another trophy, it's just, the cream on the top. It's just brilliant. Happy days.
I should have mentioned, actually, we're here to talk about the game. Tottenham Hotspur 1, Arsenal 0. And I will say that probably a number of times this evening. And we are the winners of the Hurt Bounty Trophy, which is absolutely fantastic. Also back with us is Ricky Norwood. Whenever we've won a trophy, Ricky is always here. Rick, how are you?
Paps are again, ole, ole. Paps are again, ole, ole. Paps are again. Paps are again. Paps are again, ole, ole. Let's go. Let's go. Let's have it. Let's go. Oh, 17th and I don't know how. We done it in Hong Kong. No, it doesn't really run with Hong Kong. But yes, listen, we're here. We are here. Listen, good pre-season game. Great to be back on the pod. Brilliant. Great to be back with you, beautiful, beautiful people. I can't wait to hear what Ken's got to say about today.
Love Ken. Yeah.
Do you know what? Do you know what, boys? It's a really good pre-season game today. I think we saw lots of different levels. I think we can see the progression. Yes, it is pre-season, but it's never a friendly against them lot. We know that, they know that, we know how it is. So I think the way that we stacked up against a side that has spent millions and that are, a long way along their kind of, travel or projection, going for leagues and going for titles and stuff like that. I think we showed ourselves really well today. So I'm buzzing with the performance more than anything else. And I can't wait to jump in with you beautiful people.
Well, of course, we'll get your thoughts on the game in a second. Let's introduce our last guest. Of course, it is an Arsenal fan, Kenny Ken. Kenny is a regular on our channel, always very balanced, being an Arsenal fan who comes on here. I know I was taking a little bit of a risk by bringing or asking Kenny to come on before the game. Kenny, we'll get your thoughts on the game in a minute, but how are you at the moment?
Not particularly happy. I haven't been happy since the 21st of May. It's one of the things where you want something that badly, and then when it doesn't happen, it gets worse and worse. It was awful. Brennan Johnson scoring one of the scrappiest goals I've ever seen.
Johnson again, ole, ole.
And then Man United not even registering a shot on goal. Then they have a shot on goal, and Vicario actually makes saves, and then you start time wasting. And Postecoglou,
we're only trying to take a couple of tactics out of your book, Sunshine. Do you know what I mean?
You
love a time waste.
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say, but the fact is that it's just been a nightmare. And then today, when I expected us to win comfortably, it happens again. I mean, I actually saw a proper Tottenham side. I mean, for the last couple of years, I've seen a side where fullbacks just invert together and just leave loads of gaps. None such today. I thought, I was really annoyed by it because it's just wound me up about how Arteta doesn't change the way we play, how predictable he looked, how easy you made it look, and the fact that you got him behind us as well, hit the post about 4 times as well. So
it wasn't times, though.
You won by a fluke. You won pretty comfortably, and that really annoys me. But I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna waste my time today. It's only a friendly. No, it's not a friendly. When we play Tottenham, I have to win. I don't like your club. I'm from Islington, North London, Finchley Park area. I don't subscribe to being friends with Spurs fans. I've got family of Spurs fans, but as far as I'm concerned, you're our rivals. You know,
Yeah.
N5, N17. I don't want to hear these young fans who go on, who claim to represent Arsenal, twerking for Spurs and saying they want Man United beat Spurs, saying it's a dilemma when Man United are playing Spurs. No, it isn't a bloody dilemma. It's Tottenham in a final. Lose. You know, they go and win. You've got to leave the country. I mean, if you won the Champions League, what did you see me? I left the country. I would have emigrated because I couldn't.
What country are you going to, Ken, when we win it?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I cut my hair. I shaved my hair off. I even have a shave.
I'm going to follow you out there. Me, Chris, and Ricky.
Well, no one's ever going to see me again. If you win a Champions League before Arsenal, it's over. It's over.
But you know what? You know what, Ken? Don't worry. You can join us on the Champions League parade. You can jump in with the songs. You can join us, bro. You know.
Ken, you know what? Drive the bus.
I'll call Harry Gay cancelled and try and get it cancelled. I'll call Harry Gay cancelled.
He'd let down the tyres. Get it, let the tyres down.
I'll stop the thing before it starts. I'll cancel it. I'll get a false weather warning. Anything to stop that.
Well, I'm going to say to Gary and Ricky, I think you've got your work cut out here on this podcast today, because I think we're going to do a new feature on this podcast week by week, and it's going to be like the quote of the week. And Kenny, I think, has done it already. You know, in the first 5 minutes of the podcast, it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. I don't mind seeing you happy, because I used to love your show back in the day when I was still.
What do you mean you used to?
I was a fan. I used to love your show. I love it.
No, I love your show still, but what I really loved about your show back in the day is that I used to love it. After full time, you're driving back from Yorkshire. Oh God.
Go on, crack.
Right. You're driving back from Yorkshire somewhere around the country. These guys are always late. You've lost.
Away.
And I'm just get some decaf coffee. Just watch it. Maybe have a like a bourbon biscuit and just watch the show and just see Gary going absolutely mad and Ricky being positive, and Chris being positive, and
me going mental.
What's wrong with these guys? We've lost. I love those days. Long may they come.
I personally did think that would be today. I thought that was going to be today. I got to put my hands up. I got the result wrong today, because I did not see that coming, that display and that performance. I really didn't. I don't know about you guys, but I thought Arsenal would win that today.
It's not rocket science. As Ricky said, it's not rocket science, is it?
Well,
all you've got to do is just defend properly. It's not rocket science, is it?
Let's get into it, Gary. Let's get your thoughts on the game, because, of course, it did finish Spurs 1, Arsenal 0. Tottenham did lift another trophy. Champions of Hong Kong right now. A lot of very, very happy people here in Hong Kong, and a lot of wonderful people that I've met over the last couple of days since arriving here. As I said, I had a wonderful time. But Papa Sarr, of course, got the only goal of the game. What did you make of the game overall? Because it is very fair to say that a lot of Spurs fans were very, very nervous going into this game, because we played Reading, we'd beat them 2-0. We played Wycombe Hotspur away, drew 2-2. And then a very boring encounter, it must be said, on Saturday at Kenilworth Road, 0-0. I think we only had one shot on target. It was very, very boring. And even in the training session a couple of days ago here in Hong Kong, they split the teams up into two. And even the training session ended 0-0. And when you think back to Ange Postecoglou's training session, it would have finished like 12-12. So it was very, very different. So there are a lot of worried people. I spoke to a lot of people earlier today about this game, and there are a lot of worried people about this match. But Spurs got it done. They played extremely well, created a number of chances, defended really well. We looked really, really organised. What do you make of it?
Yeah, Chris, I put my hands up. I did not expect that today, honestly. If you look at Arsenal's results so far in the friendlies and the stuff that they've done in the transfer window in comparison to ours and the friendlies we've had, on paper, it did not look like that's how the game was going to go. And I think maybe a lot of us felt like that. And it was probably one of the reasons why you got me on, because my hatred towards Arsenal, and Arsenal fans. And if anyone's going to lose their head and go mental after a defeat to Arsenal, it'll be me. And I was prepared for it. And I genuinely thought that's what was going to happen. And, Kenny will be laughing and I'll be going bright red in the face and be going mental. But we just came out, and literally as soon as the game started, we just played some front foot, lovely football. You can't really fault any players. I'd say probably Richarlison didn't have a great game. But every other single player, and I think Richarlison, you just let him get away with that just for his posts that he's putting up on X at the moment about Arsenal players and the team and the club. I think that alone can keep him at the club. But I just thought we were brilliant. Okay, second half we sat back a bit, defended deep. But first half we were absolutely unbelievable. We hit the woodwork 3 times. We created a lot of chances. And Arsenal didn't really look like scoring at all, if I'm honest with you. I wasn't really worried. I mean, even when they said 6 minutes injury time, I wasn't really feeling like Arsenal were going to get anything. Listen, look, a lot of Arsenal fans will say I was only a friendly and this and that, but as Kenny mentioned, there's not really friendlies when Tottenham and Arsenal play, and there never has been. And you can see that today with some of the tackles going in, Porro pushing Arteta into his technical area. There's never friendly. So I was really, really pleased. And it's another trophy. So happy days.
Gary, let me ask you, what do you make of the North London derby being played in Hong Kong? Because, I've met people from all over the world here and they absolutely love it when Spurs do these tours. But it is quite heavily criticised by a lot of people in the UK.
It is, and obviously North London derbies, it's North London, isn't it? But I think it's nice, for them fans to get a taste of a North London derby. And listen, I will say one thing about Arsenal. I mean, they brought the support today. Let's get it right. There was a lot of Arsenal fans in there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It was pretty impressive. And I think it's nice, places like Hong Kong and stuff to take the team out there, the squad, the manager, and let them have a feel for it. Because for them, listen, look, they're paying fans and watching fans just like everyone else. So for me, especially on a day when we've won, I think it's great. I think it really is great. But there's nothing going to be like, last season, going down to Arsenal away or when they come to ours. Nothing will ever compare to, playing Arsenal at home or Arsenal away. But Chris, like you said yourself, you've had a great time out in Hong Kong. And for the people that live there and the locals, and even for people in all different parts of the world that have travelled out there, I think they'll say it was great. I mean, the light display stuff they were doing and the open top bus and the fan zone. And I mean, they don't do things by halves. And I think that's the thing. We take it for granted so much, being in England. And like Kenny says, he's an Islington man. It's on his doorstep. But people out in Hong Kong, Australia and places like that, this is like everything for them, So I think it's great. Me personally, I love it. I really, really do love it. Would I have loved it as much if we'd have lost today? No. but I do really love it. And I do enjoy watching, the light displays and all the stuff that they do, because I feel they really go all out. And the locals and that, they can't get enough of it, man. It's just brilliant.
I always say this when I come to places like this, full respect to the fans all around the world, because some of the times they have to get up, normally when we play a Premier League game, they're getting up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to watch Spurs games, then going to work after.
Dedication, man.
And after the last couple of years, I know, of course, we won the Europa League, but 22 league defeats last season, it must have been very, very tough. But full respect to everyone around the world that gets up at a ridiculous hour to watch Spurs. Ricky, let's get your thoughts on today's game, because as I said to Gary, there are a lot of worried people about this game beforehand, particularly the last couple of pre-season friendlies that we've had. We haven't looked that creative, but we created a lot of chances today.
Today, I think, was a step up. Today was a chance for us to see what Tottenham's going to look like under Thomas Frank. And I think that we saw a lot of positive signs. We are nowhere close to the finished article right now, but you can see the building blocks being put into play. And you can see them adapting and changing within the periods of the game. So when we're defending, when we're in midfield, when we're up front, you can see all of these shifts. We looked a lot more organised. We looked, stronger all over the park. You're seeing certain players step up. I thought Sarr, not just his goal was phenomenal, but the way that he controlled the midfield. Him and Bentancur today, I thought, were absolutely solid. Yeah. They had a clear mission. They didn't look confused at all, especially when the Gooners crowded them. They always had an out pass and they knew where they were going. They weren't guessing or trying to improvise too much. Romero, Van der Ven, we know how beautiful and solid those two gentlemen are. And you could see it today. And they look like they're getting stronger as a partnership today. Pedro Porro, somebody who gets unfair criticism, I think. One of the fittest players, one of those, ever present last season, and again, ready to go again this year. I felt that his defensive play, as well as his crossing and attacking play, was a lot more balanced. It was a lot more measured, and I think that worked for the system. For me, Kudus was the standout today. Kudus, you can just see his strength. Brilliant. This is what I was talking about when we were signing him. His strength on the ball. Before we've had wingers that you can push off the ball. You're not pushing Kudus off the ball.
Strong, man.
He's very, very strong. He's got that tenacity. He likes a fight, but he's got that improvisation. He's got that ability to not even understand what he's about to do next, which will confuse the defender because, he just rolls with it. He's like water. He kind of adapts to every situation and gets you out. Yeah, there was a few touches here and there from Kudus, but overall, I'm so excited to see him step up through the levels and step up through the gears. And once we hit Super Cup and once we hit the start of the season, what he is going to bring to Tottenham. You can see it totally different to what Johnson brings, especially on that right-hand side. Another impressive performance for me, especially within the first half, was Odegaard. Again, looking a lot stronger. Now, we didn't get to see him for the majority of last season. And then when he did come back into the side, you could see that they were being tentative and being careful with him. And he was being careful with himself almost. He wasn't opening the throttles and letting it go. He was still like tetchy and worried about the injuries that he'd sustained, because I think he was out for like 6-7 months last year. So we could see a lot more from Odegaard, especially in those first 60 odd minutes. I think he's another one that is going to be a bit of a surprise package, a bit of a magician when it comes down to it, because we didn't get to see much of him last year. And he knows what he's got to do to make an impression on this side. Right now, the left-hand side, the left winger side is almost open. It's almost up for grabs right now. And, him starting today put in a really good shift. And I think that he's kind of really put his name in the hat to be considered for a starting spot. But there are still levels to go. Richarlison does what Richarlison does, which is make an impact. But that's the least of what I expect from the amount of money that we paid for him. Again, he looked a little bit fitter, looked a little bit sharper again. But, there is a part of me that doesn't feel that he's going to score. And as a striker up front, we need him to be as dangerous in front of goal than, in the hold-up play and in the Scheiser-housery.
His tweets are good though, Ricky, isn't it?
Yeah, his tweets are fantastic, loving those. And you can tell that he loves a wind-up. Even in the celebrations, he loves a wind-up. Do you know what I mean? So when we was holding the trophy after we beat the Gooners 1-0 this afternoon, he was loving the wind-up.
I know,
you know
he's lethal.
So those things are great. But for me, it really was good to see. The performance was more important for me. To see the difference between a Frank side and an Ange side. Like Kenny was saying earlier, we didn't have the inverted left back and right backs. We played very solid. We moved as a unit, and you can tell by not having gaps in behind how much our defenders and our centre midfielders wasn't being run ragged. And let's not get it twisted. Martinelli and Saka, they're very fast, technical, tricky wingers. Martinelli's more the workhorse on that left-hand side. But both Porro and Spence kept them quiet majority of the time. That was really good to see. Another very strong performance by Spence as well. Totally
that's good, man.
Earning his new contract if and when he gets that. And, overall, really, really good performance. Another thing just before I finish, because you know me, I like to get it all out one time. Spence, we do have to thank Ange. We do have to thank Ange again, not only being in this position and going into Europe and yada, 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 and the money coming in and yada, yada, yada. But you look at Spence, somebody who never really had a shot at Spurs. Conte didn't want him. Mourinho didn't want him. He was out on loan left, right, and centre. Could have gone to Genoa for 8 million, but Ange had that conversation, put his arm around him, and brought him into the side. Showed him that it wasn't about his ability. It was about his attitude to being a squad player. It's about his attitude to fight. It's about his attitude to compete, not only on the field but within the squad, and to not kind of see it as a negative if he's dropped out of the side, you know, and you can see him growing strength to strength. You can see him, you know, he played the whole of last season. When he wasn't playing, we missed him. We were calling for him. He did switch off a couple of times. He's still got things to work on. But, you know, you look at him now and he's a fully fledged Tottenham player, you know, within the squad.
It's exciting, man.
It's exciting. I don't see him going on loan whatsoever. But I think that's got a lot to do with Ange and dealing with him in his, you know, because Ange is a people person. And I think that he got into his mind and into his heart and into his soul a little bit to go, listen, Tottenham Hotspur is a fantastic place to be. Do you want to be the guy? This is the things that you need to do. And I think that he inspired his mind and his heart more than anything. And we can see him growing from strength to strength. So overall, a really, really good performance. I'm really happy with what I'm seeing from Thomas Frank. And, you know, I'll ask Kenny a question a little bit later, but about Frank, but I'll hold it for a bit later. But Chris, I wanted to ask you a few questions before I finish my rant. I wanted to ask you a few questions, bro, because you have been there. You've seen the drone show, which was absolutely epic. I don't care what anybody says. I love the memes, which were like sign some players as well. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But what has it been like, Chris? What has it been like in that stadium today? Because yes, you know, the Gooners definitely brought a ton of fans. I didn't know
a lot of fans, man.
I didn't know that Hong Kong had that many Gooners, but they brought the atmosphere, they brought the energy, and it was good to see a lot of Tottenham fans there waving the flags as well. But Chris, what's it been like walking around the stadium today? What's it been like interacting with the fans in the stands? What was it like when we scored, and what was it like when we lifted that trophy? The second trophy in the last 70 days. What was that like today? Did it compare to the flower pot moments, or you know, was it a little bit different? Let me know.
Let me start by talking about the fans, because as I said earlier on the podcast, that, you know, over the last couple of days, I've spoken to fans literally from all over the world. The amount of people that come up and say, love the videos, love the podcast, love you guys that come on a regular basis. And the love for the podcast has been unreal. And by the way, we are the #1 football podcast in Hong Kong right now, which is incredible. So virtually every Spurs fan in Hong Kong has come up to me and said, love the podcast. So, you know, the love has been absolutely unreal. So thank you for that. Overall, the mood has been that a lot of Spurs fans right now, these guys that I've spoken to all around the world, are very worried about transfers, you know, before the game. Very, very worried about transfers. Are we going to sign players? What sort of intention do we have for this season? You know, a lot of people want to see Thomas Frank backed. Now, when you see a performance like today, it then says to me, what do the board then do for Thomas Frank? Do they say, well, you can beat the likes of Arsenal now, so do you need extra players? Because we have seen this happen in the past. But of course, all of us Spurs fans want to see, you know, real ambition going forward and really backing the manager. And, you know, if we want to be fighting on all fronts, we need to do a lot in this window. The trophy lift, I'll tell you what, this was funny. And I know Gary loves Richarlison because of, you know, his social media posts, etc. But all of the players, they lifted the trophy. They're about to walk down the tunnel. Richarlison grabs the trophy and then he runs towards the south stand where all of the Spurs fans were, which I thought was absolutely brilliant.
He loves it, man.
It's so Richie, which all the fans absolutely love that. But you're absolutely right, Ricky. You know, I was with James all day today, and, you know, even when we went on the cable car and we went to see the Big Buddha, which is a great tourist
attraction. You were a bit nervous
here
on that cable car, Chris, weren't you?
I was a little bit, yeah.
Especially when he said, I'm going to open the door.
Honestly. He's an idiot.
Make sure everybody checks it out on YouTube.
That was funny, because I was laughing, thinking that's exactly what I would do, you see, what James did.
But during that trip, you know, we saw so many Arsenal shirts, and we actually looked at one another and said, you know, where are the Spurs fans here? You know, it's so many Arsenal fans. And, you know, fair play. You know, Arsenal brought a lot of fans, or they have a lot of fans here or in neighbouring countries. So, you know, the support for them was incredible. So we virtually had the one stand to their four. But crazy. I'm not being biased and because I'm a Spurs fan or on this podcast, but we were definitely the loudest. And I feel, and I know we're going to come to Kenny in a minute, I feel like there was a real expectation of every Arsenal fan that they were going to absolutely thrash us today in this game. And you know, I spoke to Gary earlier, and he was worried about this game, you know, from a Tottenham point of view. But Actually, Kenny, let's come to you on that point. And Ricky, I want to come back to you on the Thomas Frank thing in a minute, because I feel like we've got a lot to talk about on that front. And, him interacting with the fans in the hotel. So I want to come back to you on that point shortly. But Kenny, let's come back to you. If you could kind of give us two answers, one saying how great Spurs were today, and then two, your answer from an Arsenal perspective.
Oh, dear.
Look, first and foremost, Spurs played really well. I was very, I hate to say I was impressed, but I was impressed because the simple reason is that Thomas Frank got. Oh God, here we go. Thomas Frank got it, because I think what a lot of people, if you watch Arsenal,
how many Hong Kong pints has he had?
Hold on a minute, Kenny. So for those listening on an audio platform, we're just playing a video of Spurs lifting another trophy this year.
Hey, whilst you're talking about that, a mate of mine just sent me a video, like I said, a photo of Richarlison celebrating him winning this trophy, and he's got a picture of him and Gabriel Magalhaes. So yeah, Richarlison's already putting the stew on the oven, on the stove.
He's a son, isn't he, Richarlison, man?
He is, but the thing is, back to the football. The fact is that it's a no-brainer. What Arsenal did struggle with last season is that if teams play a low block, we can't break them down because we're so predictable. We move the ball a bit slowly, and we're heavily reliant on the right-hand side. So when I saw Spurs' like I said, pattern of play, and I saw the tactics and the fact they try to hit us on the counter-attack, it was like deja vu. It was like when we were playing Brentford at home, Crystal Palace at home. All these teams, we had 14 draws last season, and even the Bournemouth home and away when we lost home and away. It's a way to play against this Arsenal side. If you give us space, we'll kill you, because you only have to look at the Man City game last year, Sporting Lisboa, games like that where teams gave us a lot of space and we just absolutely ruined them. But that was never going to happen today because, Thomas Frank, we always struggled at the Emirates, believe it or not, against Brentford, because they just used to always raise their game against us at the Emirates. But at their ground, when they had to go on the attack, that's when we sort of kind of meet them up with space. But remember, their first game of Premiership, they turned us over. You know what I mean? We tried to get the game cancelled for COVID. So I hear what you're saying, but from an Arsenal perspective, there's a lot of angry Arsenal fans. We're angry because we lost to you, but we're angry with the fact that the style of play, the personnel, is like we're not too happy with Havertz, being a prominent figure still in the side. The left-hand side is an absolute joke. It's a joke. It's crap. Martinelli, I hear Ricky say that Martinelli's some sort of player. Martinelli is fallen down the pedestal for the last 18 months. Martinelli, I was happily selling. Trossard, if you like cricket, you heard of this term dibbly-dobbly. He's a dibbly-dobbly. Basically, a dibbly-dobbly. Someone who could score occasionally, do the odd bit. And
I don't really know what's happened to him.
Does do a lot of trades, but master of none. I call him a dibbly-dobbly. We definitely need a left winger, a high-class left winger who can, get in the box, score goals, and produce the same sort of numbers as, a Saka. And then the left back, Mazzucchelli's a midfielder playing left back, and that screams. We need a top left back if we're going to be able to compete. Because right now, those are our weaknesses. Because at the end of the day, you're going to get nothing coming down our left-hand side. But down our right-hand side, we're all top-heavy. Odegaard, when he gets the ball, tries to link up Saka. Ben White tries to go on the overlap and do the overloads. And everything's around Saka, where Saka's the guy who's got to make things happen. But since he's come back of injury, he looks a bit predictable. But Saka's our only creative player. Odegaard had a poor season by standards last season. But, it's one of the things where we do need players like Eze. We do need a bit more creativity. And, Madueke thing is just, basically like blindside a lot of Arsenal fans. So there's a lot of anger. Don't think for 1 minute that because you see a few, chosen Arsenal fans who go and talk sport and say everything's all rosy, and some of them go and Union Chapel and go, yeah, there's only one Mick Arteta, get lost and get in a bin. Say as it is, man. I see you. I see you guys. There's a lot of the thing about it. I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm talking about. If you looked at social media, you'll think that every Arsenal fan is doing like line dances in Islington and probably doing a conga around Islington because we signed Goalkeeping. But you speak to the Arsenal fan in the street, 50% of them think we should get Sesko. Because these are football people, but you lot don't listen to. You think that AFTV, the other podcasters, are the club. I say it once, say it 1,000 times. You guys on your YouTube and your social media, you only cover 1% of our fan base. 1%. You don't represent us. The other 99% don't do all this.
Does that bother you, Ken? Like so much other rival fans and all that, they kind of just put AFTV and Arsenal fans.
Well, it's lazy, isn't it? It bothers me because it's lazy. Because you think about it now. Back in the day, back in the day, like before Sky Sports and even the early years of Sky Sports, you wanted to speak to an Arsenal fan. You just went to them, the Duke of Edinburgh and Front Hill Road and spoke to Arsenal fans. Or you went to the Moray round a corner, or you went to like the Blackstock, right there. Everyone now seems to go to the Gunners, goes to the Tottenham. That's not an Arsenal pub. The real Arsenal pubs are the Duke of Ellington in Front Hill Road and the Moray, which is disbanded. They're real Arsenal pubs, even bigger than the Gunners. That's where all the top boys go to. But we don't go there now. For a long time, if you turn on your TV and close your eyes, and they wanted an Arsenal perspective on any transfers or any sort of like player acquisitions, or if we lost or Wenger's lost, one person they spoke to. I'm talking about, and that's it. He represents the Arsenal fan base. Yeah. No, just him. So, and he never corrected anyone when they used to call him the biggest Arsenal fan out there. He loved it. But when the criticism comes, don't criticise me, don't talk to me. Oh no.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways.
Kenny,
you know what I mean?
Kenny, can I ask, on the 21st of May, where were you? How did you feel? And how do the Arsenal fan base feel about that trophy?
Well, you want me to tell you? Do you want me to tell you honestly?
Yeah.
We were livid. Family members, Arsenal fans were livid. Podcasts were livid. Everyone around the Arsenal fan base was fuming because there was a few people who tried to counter us and say, you know what, you're not in the same competition. How does that affect us? It's not about that. It's not about that. It's the fact that we've only got 2 European trophies and you've got 4, and that hurts more than anything else. And the fact
that again,
you've got 4 European trophies, we got 2. And basically, the situation is that it just illuminated the fact that we didn't win anything. Where, let's face it, if I was asking you guys last season, and I was to say to you, right, Man City fall off by the wayside, who's going to win the title? You would have said Arsenal. Didn't happen. Yeah. That in itself has made a lot of Arsenal fans like myself bristle, and he's basically said to me, Mikel Arteta's got to go because he's had 6 years in the job, and if he can't deliver the title when the next cab of the rank, when is he going to win trophies? Because state of players, we're third favourites for the title. And in terms of Champions League, I think an English side will win the Champions League because there's 6 teams. And with the exception of PSG, the other clubs in Europe, probably not as strong as they used to be. So if an English side don't win the Champions League, then they could be kicking themselves. But if you ask me, can Arsenal win the Champions League? You've got a chance, but Liverpool, Man City are better than us, and Chelsea. It's Chelsea, isn't it?
Yeah, Chelsea, man.
So if you were to put your money, if someone gave me 50 quid and said, Arsenal or Chelsea for the Champions League, based on Chelsea's ability to win big games, I'd go Chelsea. So where does that leave Arsenal?
Kenny, did you watch that game on the 21st of May?
Yeah, I did. I was really excited about it as well. Made me favourite dinner. I thought, right, they're going to lose this. Everyone says, but they beat Man United 3 times. Yeah, Spurs choke. They're bottlers. It's Spurs. Come on, it's Spurs. They always find a way, to Spurs it up.
To blow it.
What happened? The only time Ange Postecoglou actually played proper football, you won a trophy.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Do you know, I've been with James all day, and all I've heard him sing in my ear and at the stadium, on the bus, everywhere, is Second Again, Ole Ole. What do you make of that song?
Look, if the cat fits, the cat fits. You've got to be able to take the criticism, because at the end of the day, it brings Arsenal fans down to earth, because you hear a lot of Arsenal fans and they say, you know what, we've got the best defence in the country, we've got the best manager, but if you look at the roll call and you look at the trophy, it doesn't back up. It doesn't marry. You've got some Arsenal fans, a few pork chops, are saying that Saliba and Gabriel was good as Adams and Bold. What they won? Some of them are saying Saka's world class. Has he produced Bale numbers? No, he hasn't. Is he as good as Thierry Henry and all that teams? They're trying to compare this Arsenal side, Arteta, to these great sides under, first under George Graham and under Wenger. And I say that these guys win big trophies on a regular basis, then we can have that conversation. Because right now, it's a myth. All I'm doing is coming on the shows and having to say, "Oh yeah, what have you won?" I just have to be quiet because we haven't won anything for 6 years. It's disgrace.
I still can't believe this. We're actually like this day has come. Do you know because as a Spurs fan, you know what I mean. I've got to say it, Ken, because we've had it so bad for so long. And do you know, like before, whenever anyone wrote, "What do you think of Tottenham?" and someone would always come back with it and stuff. But now people are like champions. Like the whole thing around Tottenham.
I do hear you, but the thing about that is that if I can be bold to say it on this show,
go on.
We've been there before when you won trophies. You never back it up and sustain that success.
No.
You beat Chelsea, a very good when you're your best performances. You haven't sustained that. You didn't win it for 7 years. Before you beat Chelsea, you won a League Cup against Leicester 9 years. And then before that, it was 91, you won the FA Cup. So there seems to be a gap between you winning trophies. And that is something that Thomas Frank's got to do. Another thing as well, if you don't mind me saying when you're on show, we've been in here before. The Spurs manager always seemed to get 2 years. The first year,
that's it.
Everything's going really well. The fans are on board. Then the second year, it just collapses. Levy don't give the players any money. The football becomes really poor. Spurs fans against the manager. You did that. Conte, so Spurs fans will in the second season weren't unhappy with the start of play. You did that with Mourinho, and with Ange, it was a case of like Ange.
Nuno got no time.
Nuno, because you didn't think he was good enough. But you think about. Postecoglou, you've gone. I mean, Chris, you're the most famous Spurs fan in Australia. When Big Ange went to your club, everyone was interviewing. I was bloody hell, Chris again. He's on Blame in Australia. Chris again. I went, bloody hell, what's going on here? Second season now. That's where the rock sits in. Either Levy doesn't give managers any money, or the managers are not good enough after all.
Gary,
Go on. No, you know what? I've got to give it up to Kenny, boy, because you've come on, bro, like, and you've come with like balanced opinions, bro, and I love that. I know we're having a giggle, but like, I love that you've come on and you're still balanced and you give credit where credit is due. There's so many fans out there that will just. And I don't mean any disrespect, but like mostly gooners online that will just start crying about certain things.
Ricky, listen,
and you've said it how it is, Ken, and I've got to applaud you for that. Bro.
But Kenny's always been like that. Kenny, me and Kenny have had many conversations, after Arsenal beating us and stuff like that, and he don't rub it in your face, and he just spits facts. Yeah. And this is a lot of Arsenal fans are not like that. I sent in the WhatsApp group, right, that other Arsenal fan who've been sending me stuff for the last few days, and some of the stuff these Arsenal fans come out with it doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. The fact of the matter is, right, we know Arsenal are a great side. They're not far off of winning the league, but credit where credit's due, right? We were awful in the league, but we have won a European trophy. That is it, right? It's simple as that. Yes, we finished 17th. Yes, we knew we weren't going to get relegated, and yes, we went for the European Cup, but we won it. And the fact of the matter is, as a Tottenham fan, I will hold my hands up and say, look, listen, Arsenal are not far away from winning that league, and it does make me nervous. And I think also
don't be nervous.
Winning that European Cup, it might motivate Arsenal.
Don't be nervous. Unless Arteta changes the way we play.
Do you know what, Kenny? I think, in a weird sort of way, by Tottenham winning, it will motivate Arsenal team and fan base even more because you've seen us win something.
You don't know this match.
It's eating away at the club, man.
Gary, you're wrong. You don't know this match. This manager is married to that system. Same personnel. That's why
you don't think you'll get nothing this year.
What's that?
You don't think you'll win nothing this year?
Well, we're third favourites for the league, and we're probably about third or fourth favourites for the Champions League. The fact is that how is he? He's got a sort of like a strict way of playing. He's got a player, Enquiries, who, let's face it, he ain't a Thierry Henry, he ain't a Des Bergkamp, but he's the hottest striker at the moment.
Are a different level.
We bought this player because we need someone who can get off the ground right now. But if you've got an out-and-out striker and you play the way we play, how the hell are you going to get him service? How?
Yeah.
How? Because if a striker like that who scores the volume of goals we need to get the ball quickly and play, change the way we play, maybe mix up with, slow build up.
Can I just ask you quick? Let me just ask you quick, Ken. Like, obviously, the Premier League, Champions League, if you win either of those, great, it's progression. But if you don't win either of them two, and let's say, I don't know, you win the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup, whatever, where would you stand with that?
Well, it might give him more time because it might give him another year because he's actually won something. But at the end of the day, for me, Arsenal have to win the Champions League or the.
It's got to be one of them two big trophies. I think a lot of Arsenal fans are feeling like that now. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Tottenham are in a different camp now. If we was to go on and win the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup this year, we'd be over the moon, wouldn't we? It'd be unbelievable.
But that's a good base for you, though, because you've got to build it up. You've got to get those kind of domestic trophies. So what's happening? Your players are used to winning big games and big one-off games, and then you go to Levy and say, right, we know it's a league, and I think that's what I think you were trying to do in '82. Remember that time under Keith Burtonshaw? Obviously, I'm older than a lot of you, but you won the FA Cup in '81 and '82. It was talk of now, can Tottenham win the league? And I think you've been there a few times. It didn't happen, but I think that's what Spurs have to do. Whilst at Arsenal, because we compare ourselves to Liverpool, Man United, we have to win the league. We've got to win a trophy every year, But if you look at Arsenal's, trophy line, there's just as many gaps in our trophies there with you. Not as many.
And it's been a few years since the FA Cup. I think if you get the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, I don't think a lot of Arsenal fans would be happy to keep Arteta if you want.
If you give Arsenal a day out at Wembley, and everyone's liking each other, and everyone's loving each other, the feel-good factor. You think about, the only reason why you couldn't have a feel-good factor after you won the Europa League because the results in the league were atrocious. There was no way a manager of Spurs can finish 15th or 16th and still keep his job. No way. Europa League or not, it just wasn't going to happen. Footballing wise, it was. If you kept it, it would have been one of the worst, strangest seasons ever. He couldn't keep his job.
No, I don't know that opinion, Kenny, is very mixed. It was 17th, we think, and he jeopardised his own job to win the Europa League. So, but you've come out with some classic lines so far. It's been a nightmare. We're all livid, and you've got 4 European trophies. So keep them coming. Gary, there've been a couple of comments in the comments section already, and please do keep them coming because we love your comments from
I'm reading these.
All media platforms. But there's been a couple saying that we're getting a little bit carried away. We beat Arsenal 1-0 in a pre-season friendly, but I don't need to talk to you about North London derbies. This means a lot to us, no matter whether it's a friendly. There's never really a friendly, between these two sides anyway. But wherever it's played, whatever the competition is, it's very important to us to win. But what does it mean to you, and what do you think it's going to do for Tottenham, going into this new season? Because it is only less than 2 weeks now. Of course, we've got Newcastle in South Korea on Sunday. We then travel to Bayern Munich to play our final pre-season friendly, and then in less than 2 weeks' time, we play at PSG, and they are sensational. I know they got beat by Chelsea in the Club World Cup final, but they absolutely battered Inter Milan 5-0 in the Champions League final. We know how good they are.
Yeah. Well, listen, look, I mean, going back to the Tottenham Arsenal thing, I posted a couple of things up on social media earlier, and one of my friends, a friend of mine, is a Chelsea fan, and he commented saying, mate, it was just a friendly, like, it's a joke and all that. And then I had to kind of educate him about what Tottenham and Arsenal games mean. And wherever they're played, there are no friendlies. And you can see that with, the way the players are going in for tackles. And it's always been like that. There's been so-called friendlies at the Tottenham Stadium that, like, it's filled out and all the fans have gone there, and it would be the other way round. Listen, if Arsenal would have won today, they'll be posting it and we'll be celebrating it, and rightly so, and I would be disappointed and be gutted, and I wouldn't turn around to the Arsenal fans and say it's only friendly. I'd say fair play. I wanted to win it, and I'll be honest. You're going to get some fans, some Tottenham fans that might say, if we'd have lost, it's only friendly. It doesn't matter anything else, but I just think winning breeds winning, and then no matter before the season starts, friendlies leading into this Super Cup and stuff like that, we need to get not just a win but a good performance. And the performances before today have not been great. you know, and I've not, I mean, I'm not going to get carried away, right? It's a friendly, we've beaten Arsenal, but it makes your whole mindset feel different about the next games. And also, it makes you feel different a bit about Thomas Frank. Because I'm not fully over Ange going. Let's be honest with you. I know, Ken, like, as an Arsenal fan, you said he had to go and all that, but I wasn't in that bench, you know. I would have given him until Christmas, New Year. And I feel it wasn't just that we finished 17th was the reason that he got sacked anyway. But that's another story. But for me, it kind of makes me accept Thomas Frank a little bit more. And I look at that and I think, you know, it's some of that performance today and the way we played and how good we were in that first half. Some of that has to be credited to Thomas Frank, right? It can't just be the players. The same way that when we play bad, some of it has to go to Thomas Frank as well. So in answer to your question, for me, it's a massive win today, but more so, it was a massive performance and it was a really good performance. And I felt from start to finish, they really surprised me, if I'm honest with you, Chris. They did surprise me, Tottenham, today, and Thomas Frank, and how we set up. And I am feeling a lot more positive going into the season before I did with this game. So people will say a friendly, but if it had been the other way around and say Arsenal had, you know, beaten us 3 or 4-0 or whatever else, they're not going to be saying, well, I'm not going to celebrate or I'm not going to be buzzing about this and drinking and, you know, whatever else and putting stuff up on social media because it's a friendly. It's massive. And we've got a big game, Chris, you know, in a couple of weeks against PSG. And maybe, just maybe, performances like that and results could make us get a win.
Gary, let's talk a bit about the starting 11 today against Arsenal. Vicario, Pedro Porro, Romero as captain, Van der Ven, Spence at left back, Bentancur, Sarr, Bergvall, Mohamed Kudus, Richarlison and Odegaard. And then the sub-bench today, Kinski, Austin, Danso, Davis, Vlaskovic, Abbott, Gray, Basuma, Donnelly, Maddison, Yang, Johnson, Son and Tell. Now, what did you make of the starting 11? Because I know when this lineup come out, I actually put on social media saying that Thomas Frank has gone strong. There were a lot of sarcastic comments saying, well, if this is our strong team, then, you know, and there were a lot of people saying this, if this is our strong team, then I'm worried for the season. But we know with Thomas Frank, this is more of a Thomas Frank question for you.
Yeah.
What have you made of the job that he's done so far at Spurs? Because we know at Brentford, he always set them up extremely well. They were always very organised. They never, ever got battered by teams. They were very, very difficult to beat. They attacked well at times. They defended well at times. We know how pragmatic he can play. We know that he can be very versatile in how many formations he can play as a football manager. And he often got very, very good results against top teams. And he always improved players. So I know you said there a minute ago that you were a bit unsure about him. How are you feeling about him now?
Well, ironically, one of the teams that he always struggled against was us, you know, and that was another thing. So, you know, when Thomas Frank came in, I looked at it just face value and thought, well, his last few results against Tottenham haven't been good. You know, we've beaten them home and away and we've had some good results. When we were losing to everyone, we went up there. Chris, you were there when we got a good away win against them and stuff. And I generally thought, you know, no European experience, not won a trophy. You know, so as bad as you can say where we finished with Ange, yes, I know it's in a different country and blah, 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 but it's still silverware, it's still trophies and it's still European experience. So for me, I wasn't overly confident. I was probably still 75% Ange, 25% Thomas Frank. But I will say, when I saw that lineup today in the team, I did think it was a strong team. You know, I had the game on ready and I looked at my boy, and when the team came out, and I said to him, he's gone strong there. It's a decent team. There wasn't anything about me that thought he's not going for the win. It wasn't so much the team he picked, it's how the team played. Like, they really, from kickoff, played. I mean, look, to hit the woodwork 3 times against Arsenal, I mean, I can't remember the last time that's ever happened. Our last, you know, few performances against Arsenal, and you can say, all right, it's Premier League and it's a friendly. It's still 11 players out there going for it and wanting to win that game. You know, bragging rights. It's the North London derby. But they done some really good football. I mean, Romero spun Havertz. That was ridiculous. There just was some, you know, Kudus I thought was amazing today, man. I didn't actually realise how good on the board he is. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Dembele. He's strong. He just doesn't lose it, and his ability is good. So I've got to be honest with you. I was so fixated with Gibbs White and that, I haven't really given Kudus much of a look, and I wasn't overly happy about him. I wouldn't say I was unhappy with him, but with all the stuff that's gone on with Gibbs White, I was kind of a bit more focused on that. And I really got to see Kudus today, and I thought, he's a baller. He's good. He's really, really good. So I'm feeling. I am, Chris. You know how I felt with the whole second Ange and bringing Thomas Frank in. I didn't necessarily think it was an upgrade and stuff, but look, you've got to get behind your new manager. And what better way to get behind him when we beat teams like Arsenal?
Ricky, let's come to you on Thomas Frank.
Sorry, Ken.
I was actually at a Hong Kong supporters group Legends Night with Ledley King last night.
Legend.
And Ledley answered a number of questions. And then all of a sudden, Paul Miles, of course, works for the Spurs media team. He was on the stage and said, "We've got a surprise for you all."
Unreal.
And then literally he said, Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank walked in. We all thought it was a joke. And then Thomas Frank actually walked in. He sat on the stage for about 5 or 6 minutes, answered a couple of questions, all led by Paul Miles. But he just wanted to drop in because he had an event to go to. And then he said, "Oh, what's happening in there?" And then the staff said to him, "They've got a supporters event." And he said, "I want to go and say hello. I want to go and say hello. Let's answer a couple of questions, blah, blah, blah." And he done that off his own back.
Yeah, right.
What have you made of Thomas Frank so far? Because we know, like Gary said, I've spoken to a lot of people, whether it's in England or here or, people all around the world. And a lot of people have said this appointment doesn't excite me. But do you think that this is going to be something that really grows into something really special? Because as I mentioned there, when you look at Thomas Frank's career, he's done extremely well. The amount of growth that he has had from players that have either been, cheap signings or unknown players, and he's turned them into, really good, hard-working players that have been a mainstay in his teams in the Brentford team in the last 4 years. And one of the most interesting stats, and I know I keep repeating this out, which I still find fascinating, is the fact that in the 4 years that he managed Brentford in the Premier League, not once did they ever sit in the bottom three, given their low budget that they had. But he constantly improved players and got the best out of players. And as I said to Gary, he's constantly got good results against top teams.
Yeah.
You know what, for me, I think, at first I was very reserved, and I always am when a new manager comes in. Like when Ange turned up, I didn't want Ange. When Poch turned up, I didn't want Poch. Before Conte, I didn't want Conte. Do you know what I mean? For certain different reasons, right? And a bit like Gary, after Ange, there was a lot of hurt there. Anyone that watches this pod would have known and heard me speak endlessly about Ange and the circumstances that surrounded last season and what I felt he would do he was sacrificing, like you said earlier, he was sacrificing his own job for us to lift that trophy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Something that Mourinho couldn't do in this same competition when we were playing Slavia Prague. You know what I mean? He was prioritizing the league, and maybe that's what the club wanted. But Ange knew that, especially after January, that we didn't get the help that we needed, and we're going to have to put all our eggs into one basket. And if that costs him the job, then okay, so be it. And that's why forever, I think we should all be grateful, and we should all be, we should all feel good about thanking him for what he done for us. Magical, special moments.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes down to Frank, so I'm still assessing. I'm still working it out. I think that is such a class move that he turned up to the supporters group with Ledley. Very classy move. From what I've heard in his interviews, once he's in, he's all in. He says that about friendships, relationships, marriages, and the club. And the length of time that he spent at Brentford, you can tell that he must have been interwoven into every aspect of that club. And he's doing that at Spurs. He's planting seeds from early, not just with the players, but with the fans. To be able to do something like that and just surprise, the supporters fan group, that's a fantastic move that he done there. And he didn't do it for a move. I felt that he'd done it because he wanted to do it, because his energy inside said that he wanted to do it. I think that's a great quality, and I think that's something that we should appreciate and recognize as well. When it comes down to Frank, doing my research once we signed him and stuff like that, you know, like you say, he's a manager that has pulled rabbits out of hats left, right, and centre. You know, he has made, you know, a £1 million signing into a £70 million signing. You know, he's done this for a while now. And you can see him having little bits of effect on these players. I mean, you look at the work rate, and this is why I talk about the performance, right? And it's why even Gaz was talking about the performance. And I think that every Tottenham fan is going to be more encouraged about the performance than anything else. But you look at the work rate that every single player put in. You know, every single player put in the way that they covered. You look at the defensive unity against set pieces, which the Gooners are, you know, they're a specialist at set pieces, whether that's free kicks, corners, or throw, whatever it is. They scored a ton of goals last season from set pieces, and we had trouble with them. Yes, I felt that there was an improvement from us in set pieces, but we were still shaky on certain areas. I saw an improvement in that today. I saw that not only were we kind of at times when they were attacking low blocking, I just felt we shifted as a unit. So when Thomas Frank talks about, you know, the defensive phase, the midfield phase, the attacking phase, the plan A, the plan A1, the plan A2, if this happens, and then we go into plan 3, you know, if that happens, I'm starting to see those things. I started to see elements of that today. And it looks very encouraging. I think that, like Kenny was talking about earlier, about the gaps, and when we have won something, we haven't built on it. This is why every single Tottenham fan is anxious and is frustrated with the transfer window already, the amount of business that we've done. And this is why it's really important that we do build on this. You know, that we do build to move forward. You've seen what he can do with a £5 million player. Give him a player that can walk into that side. You give him a player that can elevate his stance. You know, that can actually go into big games, go and give me the ball. I'll show you how it's done. Or are we in trouble? I'll make something happen. I think that we're going to see different levels of this Tottenham team. And what's exciting about today, not going, you know, too overboard, but what's exciting about today is that I saw those shifts. I saw those shifts in phases. I saw those shifts in blocks. You know, someone like Sarr, who has been growing in this side year on year, he was all over the place. We know about his work rate. We know about him playing in various different positions. But today you could see how solid he was in that midfield. To me, I did not miss Basuma whatsoever at all today. No. I felt that him and Bentancur were a solid partnership. I felt they dovetailed very, very well. I felt that when it came down to the defensive unit, that they blocked off and screened very, very well. I felt that even like the passing options, when the Gooners were on our case, that they always found a passing option to move and break forward. The duels, we was winning majority of our duels. Second balls, we was on. Do you know what I mean? All these little margins, and that's what's exciting for me as a Tottenham fan. That this manager is all about kind of earning every percentage. Can we get another percentage from this part of the game? Can we get another percentage from a set play, a throw on? You know, can we get? And you can see that, and you can see them being unified. It was such an impressive performance, and we've only just started. You know, it's the first time that we've seen it. I didn't really see it against Luton or against Wickham or against any other pre-season friendlies.
It's a big change though, Ricky. It's a big change to see straight away, isn't it? Even during these pre-season games about the set pieces, because you know Ange was asked many times about set pieces, but we can see a real difference.
Massive.
Yeah,
massive. Not only have we got a set piece coach at the club again, but every single margin is important. It's not just the way that we knock it up the field and score a banging goal. It's every single margin is important. How do we earn the inches on the field? How do we push ourselves up the field? How do we confuse an opposition? You know, if an opposition is worried about a long throw or our free kicks or our corners, that gives them so much more to worry about. And let alone, we're not even talking about Kudus, do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
someone like Maddison, or whoever else we bring in, or we're not talking about the trickiness or the technical aspects of the players within the squad. They've got that to worry about soon as well. But if we've got so many things to worry about, it's a bit like how Daniel Dubois was against Usyk. Usyk doesn't let you think. He's always fainting and he's always jittering, and this fires off certain things in the brain. There's a UFC fighter called Jean Saint Pierre, and he was talking about this as well. He's like, you exhaust your opponent by fainting and by like just giving little kicks here and there, and you see their reactions, right? And then their reaction starts to slow down when you do actually swing a punch or a kick, for instance. And we saw that against, with Usyk against Dubois. Dubois is a big bruiser. But Usyk, his work rate and his intelligence and his IQ exhausted that boxer within a couple of rounds.
But where's the difference come from, though? Like, just quickly, lads, from where we were so poor in these other friendly games, how have we just played so good today?
I think, Gaz, is because it meant something. I think because there was something on the line. I'm not talking about the trophy. I'm talking about the first North London derby outside of the UK.
And to be honest, that was the whole thing. That was the whole theme of the season just gone. In the league, when it didn't matter because we weren't playing for anything, we weren't really performing and we weren't winning. But as soon as we came to a Europa League game, a lot of the games where people thought we would fall down and lose, we were putting on really good performance, i.e. Bodo away, Frankfurt, all them sort of games. And we looked... it's mad, isn't it? We just need to follow this on now. It's great we've won today. I love it. I'm buzzing. But I want to see a performance like that in the next game, And then, we're not going to win every game. We know that. But as long as we play football like we did today, because I generally enjoyed that game today. That was a good performance from Tottenham. You know what I mean?
But Gaz, I think that it's what you said earlier about Frank and being up against the Gooners. That is a really good point. If today we went up against them and failed miserably, everybody would have felt different about Frank. But Frank also knew that. Frank knew that today was a stamper. It was a marker, right? For all of us Tottenham fans. Yeah. Even if we lost today, if our performance was up here and we certainly...
It would be enough.
It would have been enough, bro. So he was the one. Like Wickham, Luton, whatever... That's more minutes in the legs. We're changing 11s every 45 minutes.
Maybe
right?
It was the conversation expressions had with him as well, because he told Thomas straight, we can't be losing to Arsenal, man.
Well, he let him know, right? He let him know, man, big up yourself. You
fair play to him. That was hilarious. Chris, what were you thinking?
Bro.
That was so funny, mate, wasn't it?
It was indeed. Yeah, I saw expressions earlier today. Actually, said a quick hello, but. Going back to what Ricky said there, or even what Gary said about being worried about this game heading into it, is because in that opening 8 minutes, Arsenal did have essentially 3 chances. Even in the first minute, Odegaard had a shot deflected wide. After 4 minutes, Arsenal had another chance. It went wide. Offside flag went up. Then after 8 minutes, ball over the top, found Havertz. Havertz thought that he'd been fouled, but then he had a tame shot on goal. Kenny, before we get your thoughts on Arsenal's performance today, talk to us about Thomas Frank. How do you feel about the appointment, Thomas Frank, to Spurs? Do you think it is a good appointment for Tottenham? Do you think he's going to bring success? Because, when you look at his CV of what he's done at Brentford, fair enough, he hasn't, got Champions League experience and he hasn't won trophies, but he's done a very, very good job. Do you think it's going to be the perfect fit for Spurs?
Well, the thing is, as Ricky said, Brentford was his club. One of the things I admire about Thomas Frank is that he gets the ability to get goals out of his players. You think about it, if he hasn't managed them, he's coached them. Brentford have had a good record of getting strikers and then selling them for a song, producing strikers. Ollie Watkins was at Brentford. Ivan Toney was at Brentford. He's scoring goals. And if you look last season, he got 20 goals out of Mbermo, 19 out of Wizard, and 13 out of Schneider. Now, my saying are great, but that's 52 goals from 3 players for Brentford. So that's one thing about it. He can motivate players to win goals, but I think what he's going to need to work at Tottenham, he's going to need that caliber of play who can put the ball in the net. Because I think if you can get goals out of players that not particularly big names. He can definitely do it at Tottenham. But the thing is, he needs players. He needs players.
Yeah.
He needs. So he can't just have kudos. I think it's for me. I'm glad you didn't get him. Morgan Gibbs White, because he's a player that scares me. But that was a player that you definitely needed, because I think in your midfield, it does need a bit, changing a bit, because you got a couple of players who are good athletes, but in terms of artisans, Benton Cole can be an artisan, but he works hard. I remember what I told you last thing about James Maddison as well. He's a guy who basically looks the part, looks like a pop star, has the look, has the sort of pop star look, has a pop star girlfriend, has a pop star profile, but can't sing. You know what I mean? He's very inconsistent. And you Spurs fans know more than me. Remember, I badge your superior knowledge, but when I've looked at James Maddison, that kind of description comes true. So in midfield, you're going to need another body in the midfield. You're going to need to get a doggy back, but you're going to have to persuade the doggy that, to basically say, right, there's a time to invert, but there's a time to basically be a proper back four. That's something that he's got to work on, because I think he will be a good manager. But the thing about Spurs is that in order for him to sustain it, he's going to need to get European football in his first season. Obviously, he would love to Champions League.
Kenny, be honest here. What was your expectations before the game playing Spurs from an Arsenal perspective? Because
I saw you pre-season.
Before we went live, you were bantering us a little bit about the lack of transfer activity, but Arsenal have done a lot in the transfer window. So, were you confident going into this game that you were going to get a result against Spurs?
Not particularly, because one of the things is that obviously we've got Enquiries, he's not ready. Mendy's the first team, he's not got ready. The Madueke, he's not. Even though we bought him, he still needs to rest because he was playing for Chelsea in the World Club Championships. So if you think about the players we bought, obviously Norwood, he's a squad player. Kepa Arrizabalaga, he's a squad player. So when you think about it, we've only probably bought maybe 2, first teamers to change things. So it's one of those things where obviously we got the experience, but I just knew that the way Arteta played, I just knew Thomas Frank would play a different way, because I remember how Brentford played against us at the Emirates. Low block, very difficult to beat. We got a good goal from Declan Rice. Second half, they got the equaliser from Wizard, and after that, it should have smashed us, because we were actually on our floor, because we were trying to break them down. That even at set pieces, they were very organised at set pieces, especially our set pieces. So part of me thought, you know what, there's no way he's going to allow Spurs to play that they did last season under Postecoglou. So I expect a lot from Thomas Frank. But as I said before, we've been here before with Spurs managers, and sometimes you've got to be cautious, because even if you have a good first season where you finish 4th or 5th, it's always the second season with Spurs. It's always the expectations are very high. Levy doesn't always give his managers the money, and in the second season, when teams tend to work you out and results go south, that's when your crowd will get on the back of the manager, because it's happened before. You got performed for that. Yeah. So I think as a Spurs fan, also enjoy it. Embrace the fact that you won a Europa League. Embrace the fact that you're playing PSG in 2 weeks' time. Embrace the fact you've got a Champions League. And another thing as well, when I segue, that Champions League is no joke. Trust me, it's not like the contrived, BS where you always knew the top team were going to get through. That league stage is basically you're playing. You could play anyone. You could play Real Madrid 1 week. Next minute you could play International at home. It's a round robin thing where every game's got something on it. So you're going to need a big squad. If that's the squad you're going with, I think that's not going to work, because
not enough.
I'm telling you now, from Arsenal perspective, you're going to play an intense Premiership game, and then a few days later, the Champions League, you're going to play an intense Champions League game, because it's all about getting the top 8, so you avoid getting the playoffs. And then if you get in the playoffs, it's basically like 24 teams, 12 teams are going to miss out, and all those games are going to have something on it. Even the 8th game is going to have something on it. So you're going to need a bigger squad to see the best of Thomas Frank.
Kenny, I agree, and I think most Spurs fans will agree with you as well.
Ken, do you know what? I wanted to ask you this question, bro, because I had this comparison with Frank, right? And it just turned up. When I was watching the videos and stuff when he signed, he reminds me. He reminds me of when Wenger first turned up at the Gooners. You know that type of professor mentality. He's got a plan for every scenario, and I just thought, and that's just me. I haven't heard nobody else say that, and I just thought, as a Gooner fan, I'd share it and just see what your opinion was on that. What do you think?
Well, that's the thing. He has to have something to work with, because you remember when Wenger came to Arsenal in 96, 97, he had the French market to himself. So he was getting the best French lads who basically, between, if you look at the La Liga in the 90s, you had big, strong French West Indians and big, strong French Africans. So when they came to play in the Premiership in the 90s, they were ready athletically for our league. And then you had the skill. So basically, he had a conveyor belt where he had it all to himself. So and plus he had the defence. He had the back four. He had Seaman still. He had Burkhardt who we inherited. So that gave him a leg up. And then it was like he had to motivate the players and say to Tony Adams and all the other players, you know what, play a bit more football. You're capable of doing it. And he got levels of performance in him. When you look at Thomas Frank, one thing he has got, he's got a team that's won a big trophy. He's got Champions League football. So he's got that to work with. But what he's going to need is like players. And if you can get him the right players, then you're good to go. And that's where Levy's going to have to supply him with players. Whoever your director of football has got to do what Berta's doing for us. I call him open goal Berta. The summer signings, open goals. You need someone who's like an open goal sporting director to get you the players, because at the end of the day, 5 weeks time, it's like you're going to have to go. You're good to go. I'll tell you now, with this squad you've got, if you're going into the Champions League and you're playing in the league, and then you want to win the Carabao Cup as well, because you're a cup team as well, because that's Spurs division, it's not going to work. You need a bigger squad.
Kenny, before we go to Thomas Frank and go to his press conference after the game, just give us your expectations from an Arsenal point of view. What do you expect Arsenal to do this season, and what would you expect Spurs to do this season?
Well, for Arsenal have to win something. Because I'll tell you now, all eyes is on Arsenal. The pressure is relentless, and it won't relent. It'll be one of the things where every Arsenal game is going to be magnified, where fans from all over the country are going to go and watch every Arsenal content creator, and that season they're going to ignore their season and think, right, if Arsenal don't win nothing, it's going to kick off. And I'll tell you, it'll kick off if we don't win something. I'm not joking now. Trust me, there's going to be anarchy. There's going to be people who are going to try and say, oh, look where Arteta found us and look where he left us. No, that's not enough. Arsenal have to win either the Champions League or the league. But stated players, I said earlier in the programme, we're third favourites because Liverpool are just too strong. Man City have got the volume of players. They've already started to buy from January this year. So their rebuild started in January this year, and it's carrying into the summer. So they've got a lot of players. Defensively, if they improve, it's going to be difficult. Arsenal, we need Eze because we need another creative spark. We need to get the best out of Enquiries. If we play the way we play, all he's going to do is every team is going to say, you know what, let's just get a point. Let's see if we can just nick a win. Let's go to Emerson. Right. Let's see what they're going to do. Because we know if we stop Saka, there's nothing coming back from them. So that's where we've got to sort of like move the compass, the tactical compass more northwards in order to, get some out of our players, because we're too predictable.
And Spurs, Kenny, what do you think Thomas Frank will guide Tottenham to in terms of league position? Well, any more trophies coming Tottenham's way?
Well, the thing about it, right, is that depends what you prioritise, isn't it? If you prioritise the league, then you could get the top four, top five, and you see Champions League as a venture. But the fact is that the Champions League, you've got a very good record in Champions League. Surprisingly, you and Chelsea have managed to make a better fist of the Champions League than us. You think about it, you got the final 2019. You're beating big teams either under H Redknapp. You know what I mean? So you're one of those teams that you're very much what I call on your day team. But that in a cup competition like Champions League, that's about good enough. So I expect Spurs with this guy be a big improvement. I have to say, 5th or 6th, Spurs can finish, and you'll probably have a go at the League Cup. And I think Spurs fans will be happy about that. But Arsenal,
Be over the moon.
You'll be over the moon. But Arsenal, I think I can't contemplate us not winning anything because I tell you, it's going to be anarchy. It's going to be anarchy and infighting.
Yeah.
Right. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to Thomas Frank's press conference. It's about 7.5 minutes long, him talking about Tottenham's 1-0 win against Arsenal in Hong Kong. And then we're going to go to a couple of the match incidents, the key points of the game. And then I'll get your final thoughts on what you think Spurs need in the transfer window. And then I'm going to get to some sleep because at the moment it is 2 a.m. here in Hong Kong. So, I won't keep you.
We've already done an hour and 16 minutes. I thought this was a quick show.
It's a quick show, Gary. It's you keep giving us long answers. Actually, I've got 3 very big talkers on tonight.
Yeah,
so
that's the problem.
it's your fault, not mine. Don't blame me. Right, let's hear from Thomas Frank.
And just on the numbers tonight, very delighted to announce a new record for live attendance at a Hong Kong football match, 49,975. 3 days ago, 49,704. So for our total attendance over 2 matches, 99,679. Huge thanks to all the clubs and the Hong Kong Football Festival. Now let's throw it to the room. Thank you all. Thomas, well done. To the front row, please.
Hi, Thomas. Congratulations, your first North London derby win. We've seen a lot of videos of the team doing this real kind of defensive work, throwing each other around, trying to stop the ball getting to mini goals, things like that. How much does that kind of a match like this, the rewards are kind of reaped?
That's very, very pleasing, of course, because I think I've also been very clear. This was not a friendly. It felt like a competitive match. I think if you saw it was competitive. If you played in, it was very competitive. But some of the bits we've been working hard on is the combination of the defensive organization, so high pressure, middle and low, so there's clear principles, but also that desire to keep a clean sheet, because that makes you have a big opportunity for winning football matches.
Just going to ask you about that goal as well, Pat Matissar's goal. What did you make of it?
Unbelievable goal, fantastic, well taken. All the credit to Pape. He's impressed me. I must admit, he's been really good in last 4 weeks.
Hi, Thomas. You just mentioned that it wasn't a friendly; it was a very competitive game. So, how big a moment is this for the team psychologically?
I think for the team, we are building together. I think what this was, all the positive results or performances you can get just reinforce the messages we try to get into the players, and the team feel it. And I think that desire to defend was good. I think in general, first half in general we played a very good first half overall. Second half felt defended a bit too much, but that was good. And then I think as a set piece was good as well. I think we defended very well, but also very dangerous.
I noticed in the first half that you and Justin were calling players over a lot during breaks in play and giving them instructions. Just wondered what you could tell us, what you were actually telling them.
There was a few different bits. There could be in our phase 1 building up, maybe when Mickey a little bit lower, so there was an out ball that way, or it could be when we went a little bit longer, Lucas should be a little bit higher, so small tactical instructions.
Hi, Thomas. This trip was arranged before you came to the club, so if the club come to you next season and say, would you consider Hong Kong for pre-season again? What would your response be?
Yeah, definitely. It'll be a yes. I'll definitely consider that. I think everyone who have arranged this have been top. Just see the sellout tonight. Fantastic fans. Everyone making it feel like an extremely competitive match. It was very important for everyone. So all the things that had to be arranged well, it's just been perfect. Very pleased.
How is it as an environment in terms of preparing for a season as well, in terms of performance, so the facilities you have and everything that goes with it?
I think that's been good. Very good hotel. The training pitch has been good, which is important. And then, of course, the stadium pitch here in the stadium.
Hi, Thomas. Just wanted to ask you, just being out here and experiencing a game of that magnitude and just being around the city and seeing the fans and things, does it sort of help you, I don't know, acclimatise to the job you've taken on, just the sort of size of it, the magnitude of it?
Yeah, definitely. I think I have a good idea, but you don't really know before you step into it. And I think see how important it is for the fans. All the fans that's waiting every day for us in the morning and in the evening. The fans that came to the open training, the fans who were here at the game. You understand more and more, first and foremost, how big a club Tottenham is, and also the importance of the club.
Sorry, I'm going to try to ask one more. You've spoken before about Mohamed Kudus's unpredictability. Now that you've worked with him for a few weeks, just wanted you to tell us a little bit more about him and in a game like this, what he kind of offers to the team.
Yeah, I think he was really good today. Kudus, I think his hold-up play and taking care of the ball, getting out of tricky situations, his one-on-one skills, creating opportunities for the team, I think was top class. And on top of that, I think he's working extremely hard. There was one recovery run from a set piece where he was sprinting all the way back. I can't remember which one Arsenal player it was, and won the ball back. And that's he just helped the team so much. So he will make a lot of the fans be very excited with his offensive actions, and he will also help the team defensively.
Sorry, Thomas, just one quick one. Dominic Solanke, how close is he to coming back?
It's getting closer. You will see if it's close enough for Newcastle. If not, I'm positive for Bayern.
Hi, Thomas. If it's okay, I just want to ask you about one. He's an Arsenal player now, but Christian Norwood. So we had a big embrace with him at full time. How happy are you to see him kind of getting this opportunity with a Champions League club? And are you surprised at all that he's made that step?
No, it's a little bit emotional. I've known him since he was 15, and I think he's 31 now, and I've been coaching him 12 of those years. So I can say that I know him pretty well. So this is the first time I played against him. He probably played for me more than 300 games, close to 400 games. I don't know. Yeah, close to 400 games. So it was a little bit strange to see him in the other team. He's a top player. I understand why Arsenal went for him. I'm so happy that he got this great opportunity late in his career.
Hello, Thomas. After the game is over, when the Spurs players greeting with the fans, there was a moment that Romero putting the armband on Son's arm. Actually, I saw that. And then you said that before you didn't decide anything about captaincy yet. So was there any update, or is it still TBC?
Yeah, that is to be confirmed. I haven't taken a decision yet, so I like to understand the group and the players a little bit more. I know I need to make a decision before the first official game against PSG in the Super Cup, and of course I will do that. So it's natural that both Romeo and Son are captains. So I kept it like it was.
Great, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Thomas.
Gary, let's come to you. Let's talk a little bit about Thomas Frank's communication amongst the team and his squad, because I've certainly noticed that, during the pre-season friendlies that I've watched so far since he's been boss, and particularly in the training session a couple of days ago, he literally every 5 minutes got the team back in, wanted to communicate, wanted to talk to the squad, including his coaches as well, Justin Cochran and Matt Wells. The communication seems to be an all-time high, I would say. I don't think I've seen this level of communication between coaching staff and players ever.
No, but you know what? That is one of the things I do really like about him. I do like that, and I think we had one extreme with Conte when he was just like screaming, shouting, and was just so emotional and involved. And then Ange was very just sort of, arms folded, offish. And there'd be so many games, Chris, with Ange, and I love Ange and that, but there was so many games where I'd be like, mate, you need to do something, change it, speak to the players. And he wasn't doing anything. At least with Frank, right, he's always got that board. He's always writing stuff down on paper. He's always passing things over. He's always communicating. I do really love that about him. And I do feel with Frank, if we are in a game, and I don't know, say we're 1-0 5 minutes ago, I think he'll communicate with the team. He'll get messages over there. If we need to change the formation, whatever, he'll do it. Whereas I did feel for a lot of time with Ange, it was like, come on, do something. And it wasn't happening. Do you know what I mean? There was that. So that will be probably one of the things at the moment with Thomas Frank, which I really, really do like. And then hopefully this season that will win me round with him, because at the moment I'm still a bit, today's helped, obviously, but that for me is definitely a positive with Frank, because you never feel like a game's passing him by. You know what I mean?
Gary, I mentioned earlier that Arsenal had a couple of chances in the opening 8 minutes, and then in the 9th minute, Tottenham had a corner. Pedro Porro hitting the post directly from the corner. It came out to Richarlison, who hit it towards goal, and then it was cleared. Now, let's talk a little bit about Richarlison, because I know that you love his social media posts, and fans always like when they stick up for the club and have that little bit of banter. But on the pitch, what have you made of Richarlison in his Tottenham Hotspur career? Is this the season that he's finally going to really shine for Tottenham and hit that consistency under Thomas Frank, or is his time up, in your opinion?
I think his time is up, Chris. It's coming very close, unfortunately. I just don't feel he can stay fit enough for long enough. And I just, there's just sometimes with Richarlison, he just doesn't play the ball quick enough, or he makes the wrong decisions and stuff like that. Listen, he's nowhere as frustrated as what Timo Werner was. Let's be honest about it, right? But hand on heart, hand on heart, do I think Richarlison is going to turn it around this season and stuff? No. Would I be up for him being moved on? I would be, yeah. And look, I do love his social media, and you have to ask yourself, is some of that social media stuff, is he doing that because he kind of knows he's not really doing the talking on the pitch? So he's kind of winning some of the fans over and stuff and the players by almost doing that. That would be a Richarlison thing to do, right? He's not stupid. Do you know what I mean? But for me, there's not been enough of him, Chris. If we was to sell him, this season, I wouldn't be disappointed. Do you know what I mean?
Rick, let's come to you. After 18 minutes, Declan Rice had a chance. It was blocked, went out for a corner. 4 minutes later, a back pass to Vicario. He ended up kicking it out. Seemed quite nervous at that point, kicking the ball out. And I looked straight across to Thomas Frank and actually showed it inside the ground as well on TV. He didn't look impressed. What do you make of Vicario? And, we all know that he's a fantastic goalkeeper with his hands. Can he improve with his footwork? Because we seem to see Kinski, he's got brilliant footwork. And if you kind of merge the two goalkeepers together, I feel like we'd have the perfect goalkeeper. Do you think he's going to improve? And also, interestingly, in the last 24 hours, Spurs have actually put an advert out for an analyst for the first team goalkeepers.
I think that's positive. I think when it comes down to Kinski, he was born in the ball playing goalkeeper role. Like if you find, look into his history and stuff like that, he'll say that when he was training and especially under his dad and stuff like that, he trained as almost like a midfielder. He was out doing a lot of the out ball and outfield training. When he was at his previous club. So you can see how natural it is for him. You can see how it's not a worry for him, and you can see how he would succeed in the style of play that we're playing right now, and this modern day style of football as well that we require from a goalkeeper. With Vic, I love his fight, and I love that he's always looking to improve. So if you look at the first season, I remember that Man City game where it was the first time that Vicario started getting pressurized, right? They started putting 2-3 players on Vicario, and we started conceding goals from set plays a lot within that first season under Ange and in Vicario's first season. But he was determined to make it right. He went to work. The thing is with him is that in Italian football, you can't challenge the way that you can in the Premier League against a goalkeeper. You touch the goalkeeper in the Italian league and it's a whistle and it's a free kick, and that was a period of adaptation, and you saw him come back fighting. When he was out last season, in his downtime, he didn't just sulk or anything like that. He worked tremendously hard to get back and to be a figure in between the sticks for us as well. But also, like, he's reading. There was a video that Spurs put out, on his comeback trail, and he was sitting there reading books from Buffon, and who's his hero. So with a goalkeeper, you do go through ebbs and flows. But the one thing that I've seen him do is work and fight for the position. Throughout his career, he's had to work and fight for his position, and I love that about a player. So there's a lot of work to do for him to be comfortable kicking and being under pressure with the ball at his feet. But I think that he's one of those goalkeepers that doesn't shy away from it. I don't think he's gonna start sulking, or I don't think that he's going to be like, "Oh, you're not playing my way, and now you're blaming me for it." I think that he will meet the challenge head on, and I think with somebody like Kinski behind him, pushing him, his place ain't guaranteed. So with that, we know that's why we always want, and that's every team wants two players of almost equal ability for the same position, so that they can fight it out, so that they can push each other, and so that the standard keeps getting risen. So I have faith that he will go to work, and I have faith that bringing in another analyst will improve the performances from Vicario. But also look at our goalkeeping coach. So we got the guy from Liverpool, I think it was, who's been working with Alisson, and I think that his training sessions and his way of thinking for the goalkeepers, I think that that's going to have an effect as well. So I think we're in a healthy position in the goalkeeping area right now. I'm still not as nervous with Vicario with the ball at his feet that I was with Hugo Lloris, and I love Hugo Lloris, right? But Hugo didn't come from that world. He just didn't come from that world. Yes, he could use his feet. Yes, he would, if it was simple and there was no pressure. But how many times, especially like under Conte or Nuno, there were times where we let the opposition have the ball many a time, and we were very much a counter-attacking side. We would try and soak up the pressure and then hit on the break, and that meant that someone like Hugo Lloris was having more touches with the ball, and you knew the more touches he had with the ball, the mistakes were going to come, he was going to pass it to an opposition player where they had a free shot on goal or stuff like that. So that really made me nervous when Lloris was there, and I love Lloris to bits. So there's an improvement with Vicario with that, but he ain't 100% when it comes down to his feet. But he's still up there. I'll give him like an 80%, margin of error, but margin of growth as well. Someone like Kinski, like I say, he's been born into it. So his footwork and the way that he plays with the ball at his feet is so much more comfortable. You can see that he don't mind crossing the ball. He don't mind a ping over the top. He don't mind the pressure coming onto him. He's very athletic. He's and we haven't seen the best of him. He's still very young as well. So they're two different profiles, but I think we're healthy in there, and I think that it's a healthy competition that we've got going on there. And it makes sure that none of these players, including the goalkeepers, sit on their laurels or expect to be the first teamer. I think that that's a healthy place. And I think that him, Vicario being held to account of some of his errors or some of the things that he's doing wrong is a healthy thing to do. Do you know what I mean? It's not just, oh, yeah, you're great. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, we'll leave you to, oh, that was a mistake. Oh, don't worry about it. Oh, you slipped. All right. It's not about that. It's like, no. We're looking for every margin. We're looking for every percentage right now, especially under Thomas Frank. So I love that Frank was upset about it. I love that they're asking for a new analyst. I love that they've brought in a new goalkeeping coach as well. And we're looking at every area. It's a very healthy situation, I think. I know that there was talk about Kinski going out on loan. I really hope that that's just a rubbish rumor, to be fair. I want him to stay there, and I want him to fight for that place. I do think the future is with Kinski, but, you know, Vicario ain't going to go down without a fight, and I think that's healthy for us.
Well, in the 28th minute, Wilson Odebear hit the post with a good shot. He was very unlucky not to go in, actually. And then just moments later, Spurs hit the post and the crossbar. Actually looked like Richarlison cleared it, which was a shame. In the 43rd minute, Romero, a good tackle in the Spurs box, and then he nutmegged an Arsenal player. A big cheer from the Spurs end. Kenny, because you're our special guest, I suppose we should get you to talk us through the goal. Papa Sarr just before half time. What do you make of it?
Well, actually, I was about to leave myself on mute. But yeah, the thing about it is that it's risk and reward. It's risk and reward because you think about it, that's how Mick Arteta wants our goalkeepers to play. He wants the goalkeeper to be the, you know, like the 11th footballer. You know, it's not like with Ramsdale. One of the reasons why Ramsdale lost his place because he wasn't the 11th footballer. Every time he got the ball, he kicked it straight into the abyss, and the opposition got the ball back, and they want to control the football. But in terms of, you know, the goal itself, well, I think Spurs they targeted Miles Lewis-Skelly. You think about it, he struggled. I thought he struggled in the first half with Kudos, to be honest. You know, he's not an orthodox left back, but what he tends to do is that he's very good on the half turn. That you can give him the ball when he's marked because he's really strong. He can fend off his defender and then start attacks. I think that's what Ray was trying to do. He passed the ball to Miles Lewis-Skelly. He was very confident that he'll be able to get on the half turn. But you know, Sarr was wide awake. You know, out-muscled him, and then he was a good opportunity. But that's risk and reward. You're going to see a lot of goals against us like that. The occasional goal against us because our goalies have to play out of the back. They either got a part. It's either going to be pass diagonally, short passes, but no long passes where it's going to go straight into the centre circle because that's not how Arteta plays. When I go to games, Mick Arteta screams at players if they hit the ball long. If they do a diagonal pass, he screams at players. If they're not in the right positions, he has a go. On that technical area, Mick Arteta is like a micromanager. You talk about Thomas Frank, this guy is another level of control freak. Trust me, he tells them where to run, tells them where to pass, tells them what position to go. And at Arsenal, a long pass is a no-no. So I can't slag our goalkeeper off because that's how it's been told to play by the manager. I knew the way Spurs were playing. You targeted Miles Lewis-Skelly because he likes time on the ball, he likes to get on a half turn. But if you can, because he's a strong lad, but if you can meet muscle with muscle, and you know get him caught in possession, you got a pot shot and goal, and that's what a lot of the goals we conceded, especially in the second half, was a lot of times down Miles Lewis-Skelly, especially in the second half of the season, because he tends to invert too much, and then if he loses the ball, boom, you strike and goal. So that goal didn't surprise me. It didn't make me angry because
it was a great finish, though, Kenny, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was too good a finish. I didn't think Sarr had it in him.
No,
I didn't think Sarr had it in, but it was good opportunities. And as I said, the better team went today. You know, that first half, that performance for Spurs in the first half was probably one of your best performances I've seen for a long time. But
especially against Arsenal.
Yeah, especially against Arsenal. But I'm not going to downgrade it because at the end of the day, the fact is that I'm really, really angry with the way we set up. I'm angry at the personnel we chose. And I do worry that first game of the season, if I put my ass on it, I'll bet all of you that Kai Havertz is going to start the first game of the season. Enquiries is going to be on a bench. If you want me to play this game with you, I'll play this little game with you.
You got first game, Kenny?
Man United. But I'll play this little game with all of you because I played this game on the Arsenal channels yesterday. I said, look, Enquiries won't start games because Arteta's going to say he's had a knock in training and he won't play for the first few games because he's going to play his favourite player, Kai Havertz. I'll put my ass on that. I bet you
Kenny, would you not put Havertz in the 10 and put Gyökeres up front?
We tried Havertz in every position. The position where he's most effective is the false number 9 because of the fact that he is a strong runner. He's got a little bit of pace and he can hold the ball up and he does get in the end of the finishes. However, he's one of those players where, how do I say it, he's not consistent enough at a top class football club to score the goals we need. But he does his bit. He'll get 12, 13 goals, 14 goals, and that'll be his contribution. But in terms of like that man that is going to win us something, not at all. But I think with Mikel Arteta, he sees Kai as tactically important, where he can play in the midfield, playing at number 10 and number 8 position, but preferably in that number 8 position, and then he can play the false number 9. And that's why Kai Havertz will always have a place in our first 11. You wouldn't pick him in any Arsenal first 11 if you're interested in Arsenal, because you'll look at Gyökeres, you look at Zubimendi, you say, right, that Arsenal side picks itself. Well, Mikel Arteta, that Arsenal side picks itself, including Kai Havertz, and that is the conundrum. He's going to be the biggest talking point if we don't win anything. Arteta's consistent selection of Kai Havertz, because he does divide opinion at the football club.
Mm. And do you think that former Spurs graduate Madueke, do you think that he's going to have the impact for the Gooners that you need, to get the ball up to the forward players, to get the ball up to Gyökeres? And is he going to play on the left, or do you reckon he's
definitely going to play on the left? He's definitely long term. He's going to play on the left, because I think what we're going to do is that you don't pay £52 million for a player for letting him stay on the bench and be Saka's understudy, because there's going to be a lot of games we're going to be playing. The Champions League is going to be intense. I think that he is going to be looking to play him on the left-hand side and basically say, right, in games where Saka's been, heavily marked, why don't they interchange? And I think that's how we're going to look to do long term. And I think that's why he's brought Maloney. But let's face it was an open goal signing. He was surplus to requirements. He offered us to Berta. Berta went, yeah, why not? He's an England international, and that's why he's in the team. But I think if you move the tactical ball forwards, then yeah, it's without a shadow of doubt, he'll definitely could start at the left initially. But long term, Kai Havertz is good. Oh God, it just annoys me the fact he's at our club still.
And last question from me. I'm sorry, Chris. I know I'm taking over, but I can't.
Hold on, Ricky. This is called the Spurs Chat Podcast.
Yeah,
I know.
You meant to say to your guests, you can do whatever you want in my house. You're one of our own.
No, I've asked you twice to talk about how great Pape Sarr's goal is, and you've been talking about.
I told you it was great finishing, great opportunism.
I think he had a good of a finish. He didn't have it in him.
Well, you don't want to really prolong my agony. I think you've had enough fun.
What, an hour and 43 minutes of this. I think you've done quite well.
I know. You've got to remember one thing, guys. I have to go past. Because I'm based around the Crouch End area, and if I segue down to the Turnpike Lane, Spurs fans. I mean, when you don't win anything, there's guys I speak to. I don't know even I like football. I don't even know I like Spurs. Yeah. But when you got the Champions League final, I found a lot of Spurs fans coming out of the woodwork, and then from under the bed as well.
I'm going to ask the question that Ricky wanted to ask you. What were you doing on the 21st of May?
Suffering.
But I went down to Wembley the other day in the day, and there was so many Arsenal fans around. Though, like me and my missus were saying it, we could not believe how many Arsenal shirts we saw. So many people wearing Arsenal shirts. It was just like a Tuesday afternoon.
The thing with Arsenal is that a lot of people, sort of segue themselves to the Arsenal because of the fact that obviously we had the Henry, Bergkamp years, Wenger years, Paul Graham years, and I think we've managed to spread our message. Even if we haven't won nothing, we've somehow become the biggest club in London because of what we've done previously. And then you go abroad, a lot of people support Arsenal. You go around the UK,
you've got a lot of fans. Like I said, afternoon,
Ian Wright.
We carried about 10 shirts.
Ian Wright. If you're Ian Wright, is like the archetypal, black man, urban black guy, gold tooth. You're a black guy, want to feel, proud to be black. You look at this guy playing for Arsenal. Well, I'm going to support Arsenal because this guy.
Yeah.
You live in Croydon, you won't support Crystal Palace. I'm going to support Arsenal. You live in Birmingham, I'm supporting Arsenal. You live in Manchester, you're black, Liverpool.
Yeah.
This guy, he represents me. I'm supporting that club, and I think that's how we got a lot of support across the UK.
Yeah. Ian Wright lives where I used to live, down Kensal Rise. That's where I grew up and stuff, all around that area, and he still lives there now. But yeah, you're right. There's so many Arsenal fans all around.
Kensal Rise is a QPR area.
Hey?
Kensal Rise is a QPR area.
We're going off on another tangent now.
Yeah,
Ricky,
but
ask your question.
I did go QPR as a kid, but I was never going to support them. But I used to go to QPR when they had the AstroTurf, the plastic pitch, like Luton and that. And QPR was like...
Your name like Maloney, I'm not, QPR's a nice little Irish club, isn't it?
No, not for me, mate. It was always Tottenham.
Ricky, what was your final question to Kenny?
I just wanted to know, because Kenny is like, it's good to have a good chat, a debate, a good conversation without look, we've had sprinkles of banter, but to have an actual good conversation, I love that stuff. Do you know what I mean? And yes, we're going to continue celebrating. But my thing would be, my question is like, how do you feel about this, the Guna Chelsea relationship and swapping and sharing players, year in, year out? How do you feel about that as one of those true fans that goes to the true pub? Just give us a reflection on what that relationship's like, because you seem very pally, but then, do you know what I mean?
I agree with you, but I think if you think about it from a lot of fans are angry about it because we've had players like David Luiz, we've had Williad, we've had William Gallas, we've had Petr Cech, we had Benayoun. I mean, but it's Sterling, and then we had Diarra. So it's a case like it's every summer we always get a Chelsea player, and some of them are on loan. But the thing about it is that from a business point of view, Mick Arteta likes to get our sort of players in because we haven't got experience of winning big trophies. So he's always going to go to Chelsea. Another thing as well, it's a London thing, isn't it? They're not. They're easy to get in. Chelsea name a price, we pay it. And in terms of like the money that the salaries their players are on, they're still going to maintain that salary at Arsenal. So from a Chelsea point of view, it's a win-win. But from an Arsenal point of view, it's a case of getting bodies in.
But Ricky, it's like an ongoing joke from other fan bases now, isn't it? Because
it is
like Chelsea's rejects, like they sort of say.
And obviously, I didn't even mention Kai Havertz, but it's one of the things where you've got Berta, who I call open goal Berta, and you've got Arteta. Next season, you're going to see even more Chelsea players because Chelsea have a massish squad. They've got players.
That's actually
they're just going to offer their players to Arsenal. Arsenal are going to think, well, yeah, why not? Because we do need bodies in. So they're easy to get. They're easy to get in terms of like acquisitions.
But it's mad because we never do business with Chelsea or Arsenal or anything like that. Like hardly ever has ever happened.
Chelsea have basically ruined the liquidator because they're so obsessed with you.
Yeah,
they used to play liquidator. They include you in it. How pork chop behaviour is that?
So Gary, do you want to talk about Pape Matar Sarr's goal? How great it is?
Yeah, I thought it was a wonderful goal. Do you know what? To be honest, Raya was so casual as he was kind of half jumping and running back. I thought it was just going to go over. I thought Raya had sort of seen it and thought, nah, that's not going in. And then I thought it wasn't going in, but it was like Naeem from the halfway line. It was like the Harry Kane one. It was for Sarr. Sorry, mate, I had to bring up the old Naeem. But for Sarr to pull that out of the bag is unbelievable. But I generally didn't think it was going in because of Raya's body language in his reaction.
Why don't you just talk about Gazza's free kick in 91? Go on.
Yeah, that's my favourite.
Let's talk about David Bentley from the halfway line as well. But
that's amazing as well.
But Kenny, you've said my favourite one.
That's one guy I absolutely hate. I hate David Bentley. It's not because he never made it to us. It's because it's just something about him. You just think
he's a bit of a wind-up merchant now, isn't he?
That free kick, though, Kenny, at Wembley. He's
another geezer, what I call a pop star that can't sing.
Yeah.
David Bentley's another one of them. David Bentley, James Maddison, boys who are in a pop group.
But you named the best player there, though. When you said Gaza, what we have to do, Kenny, when Tottenham do finally win the Champions League, I'll invite you round for a Sunday dinner, Sunday roast. And as you come in my front door, you'll see I've got the signed shirt from the semi-final when Gaza scored that free kick in a frame with the program in there and everything, because the program on that day I think was £3, and I've got everything in a frame: the shirt, the program, the whole lot. And I'm quite happy for you to have a picture with it.
It's all about things that never going to happen. If you win a Champions League, that's me done. That's me done. I'm done because.
What country you going to?
You know what I like though? I like, Gaz, that
I
you
don't know,
invite
but I won't
Kenny
tell
the
you,
Goon
mate.
around to celebrate for a roast. But Chris, have you ever had any invitation for a roast, bro?
No.
I like a roast potato, bro. What's
Yeah,
that
but
about?
can you imagine how much fun that would be if we won the Champions League? I got an Arsenal fan sitting there for Sunday dinner, and especially being Kenny Ken. That would be gold TV. That'd be unbelievable, wouldn't it?
Yeah. The thing about it is that if you win the Champions, you don't realise is that if you look in the if you sort of like rewind back to the day when Arsenal played Chelsea in the Europa League,
yes.
and then 3 days later Liverpool are going to play Spurs in the European Cup.
Yeah.
Arsenal fans couldn't even concentrate on the Europa League final because we were so worried that you were going to beat Liverpool. And
I heard a lot of Arsenal fans can say we'll take losing the Europa if it means Tottenham losing the Champions League.
Me.
Honestly, and that's the hatred, and I get it. Yeah. I get the hatred. But funny enough, Ken, just going on that, because at the start of the season, I always knew we were going to win the Europa League. But I did say, as a Tottenham fan, I said at the start of the season, Chris will tell you, I even said it'd be United. I said we beat them in the final. I got it right, mate. That was one thing. But I did say, and not many Tottenham fans agreed with me, I did say, if that came at the price of Arsenal winning the Champions League, I would still take it. But I think it's slightly different for a Tottenham fan because we've been starved for success and trophies for so long. If it meant Arsenal won the Champions League, but we would have won the Europa League, I would have just blanked out the Arsenal and still enjoyed the Europa.
It's happened before. Let's not forget, in 1971, we won the double. You won the League Cup. You were happy with that. We got the Spurs. In 1991, we win the league. We only lose in one game. You win the FA Cup.
Yeah, that's it.
Spurs fan. Believe it, a Spurs fan, Des Walker scored an own goal. Conspiracy.
Yeah, mate. I know.
Kenny,
I was there.
Des Walker, one of the biggest Spurs fans out there, scores an own goal against Spurs. It's conspiracy.
Kenny, this is why you're always welcome back on this channel, because the amount of times that you, say about these great moments that Spurs have had, respect to you.
Nah, Kenny knows his stuff,
boy,
man.
I got Spurs. I got.
And Kenny, do you know in the comments, the amount of people that say Kenny should have his own show, he talks sense. And the amount of love for you as an Arsenal fan, mate, and there ain't many Arsenal fans that are loved, but for you and Kenny, I'll say
they're all my friends. They're all my friends from his. They're Spurs fans in Islington.
You even know yourself, mate. We talk on Instagram and we message back and forth because you just say it how it is as an Arsenal fan, mate. And as a Tottenham fan, I love that.
You know the funny thing, right? That thing I put on Instagram about Mark. When they're praising Chloe Kelly and comparing it to Mark and Rashford, I said, during when Chloe Kelly, changed government policy to, to make sure kids had meals during the school holidays. And there was a bit of chat. What I wanted to say is that Chloe Kelly says she's proud to be English. I mean, for the love of God, she's Irish. She even looks Irish and sounds Irish. And she says, you've got Declan Rice. I call Declan Rice Declan English. You should call her Chloe Irish.
Well, Kenny, going back to Gary's offer about having a roast dinner around his house, I'll tell you what, if Spurs win the Champions League, you have to come out for a well-done steak and roast potatoes with me and Ricky.
Yeah.
Is that my going away meal before I emigrate?
It's a date. It's a date,
We'll
mate.
go to that posh restaurant. Is it Gaucho or Gaucho Grill? You pronounce it. I know you attend them sort of restaurants.
Because me and Ricky are not invited round Gary's for the roast. He's not invited round for our steak.
Oh, that's not nice, is it? You come round for dessert.
I do like a steak. I do like a steak.
I love a steak. I had a steak the day after we won the Europa League final, and it tasted like a champion. It was amazing.
Honestly,
I made sure I ate before you lot won that game. I thought it was me dinner.
You didn't stick it up, did you?
I'm surprised you haven't got your shirt on, or were you too embarrassed to wear it tonight?
Come on, you ask me this all the time. The only time I wear colours is over a top when I go. I don't wear colours. Well, like so any of you Spurs fans try and stop me.
You'd be safe coming to our ground anyway. You'll love the our ground. You're safe.
No, I don't. The thing is, my thing. What I told you before is that if I'm on a Spurs show and it's probably Spurs, I think it's disrespectful for me to wear my Arsenal gear. It's because there's going to be some fans who.
I wouldn't take offence to that, mate. I wouldn't take offence to that.
So I've got to respect my surroundings.
Yeah. Kenny, listen, I'll say it now on the show tonight before we go. When we win the Champions League, you're welcome around my house for a roast dinner in your full Arsenal kit. Got no problem with that.
Before we go, we're on the 43rd minute.
And you'll take photos as well. You love that.
Gary saying before we go, we're on the 43rd minute.
Mate, my battery's going to die in a minute.
Well, let's move on. Ricky, I've got to come to you on Sarr's goal because what a wonderful goal,
mate. It was like a golf shot, wasn't it? The way that he hit it and the way that it sliced through the air, it didn't do a Bentley. You know what I mean? It Naeem kind of, it had a little swerve, but this one, it just, flat as hell, and pinpoint. It was more so. I loved the goal, right? The goal was chef's kiss, right? But it was the tackle before it. It was the nicking the ball off of the Gooner in midfield. I don't know who that was right now, but it was doing that because they'd done that. Him and Bentancur had done that throughout the first half, where they kept nicking the ball and then breaking, and we looked dangerous when we done stuff like that. So the fact that Sarr picked it up and he was like, footballers are like this as well. They spot that the goalkeepers come off their line or something like that. So it must have been in Sarr's head. If he does get it at a certain point, he's going to go for it. And what a goal! What a golf shot! Hole in one. Well done, Mr. Magic Sarr. Do you know what I mean?
Like Ken said, I didn't think Sarr had that in him. I didn't.
Do you know what though, Ricky? What I've really noticed in pre-season so far and in the training session the other day is the real aggressive pressing from this Tottenham team. And like he mentioned in the press conference just there after this game this evening about Mohamed Kudus, that about his defensive duties, every single person in that team has to do those defensive duties. That is really, really important to a Thomas Frank system.
Massive, but and we saw it today. That was one of the things that were like on my big green tick list, because I was just to see everybody, and that's why I've said it 4 times already about the unit and about how united we were as a team, whether we was pushing and pressing forward or whether we was defending. It was fantastic to see that, and this is just the beginning. This is just the first green shoots of what a Thomas Frank Tottenham's going to look like. And it's exciting to see that. And that's why I think that it was really important for Frank and the team to put down a marker, to put down a standard bearer of what to expect come the beginning of the season. And, the best is yet to come. They haven't even really started. They've only been a couple of weeks in training. So the best is yet to come. And especially with investment and some really high-profile players that mean business, I think it could be a really good season. If he can bring what he brought to Brentford, as Kenny's spoken about, right? That hard working, that relentlessness, as we've spoken, gents, about turning players that were, £5 million players into £50 million players. If he can start doing that at Tottenham with £50 million players and turn them into £100 million players, then, oh my gosh,
Listen. We need to beat Newcastle now, because otherwise we're going to just be feeling like that.
No,
we need to follow this up.
I get what you're saying, but it's not. Look, today it was result based because it was against the Gooners. Yeah, when it comes down to Newcastle, I need to see another performance.
That's it.
And the majority of the squad is going to be changed. That first 11 is probably going to be the second side that starts that. So now it's about, can those second teamers, right, those that are pushing for a place or those that didn't play today, can they start showing themselves at the levels that we saw today? Can they start making an impression on this side, which starts to force themselves into the starting lineup? Someone like Sarr has done that in the short amount of pre-season and the short amount of time that he's been under Frank. And Frank's recognized that in the press conference today. So you can look at Sarr, and for me, straight away, he's taken that Basuma spot, right? For me, yeah. For me, I'm looking at Sarr before I'm looking at Basuma right now. And even if we get another midfielder right now, Sarr's put his marker down, okay? Sarr has put his marker down. So it's about that. So when we go up against Newcastle, we're more than likely going to have a second 11, Kinski in goal, etc., a second 11 to start the game that goes 45 to 60 minutes before we have changes again, so that everybody steps up to the minutes and the level and the energy and all of those things. And again, it's about that performance. Newcastle have had their wicked way with us for a couple of seasons now under Eddie Howe. They've known how to break on us. They've known how to exploit us. So let's see how we handle it, how we adapt. Are we still as aggressive in the tackle? Are we still as aggressive in the press? Are we still a unit? Do we still defend as a unit? Do we still attack as a unit? Do we still kind of trust in the players that have come in, to do the same jobs? Johnson's got a job on his hands because Kudus straight away, even though he didn't score today, Kudus came in and made a massive impression.
Looks so
against
good.
An aggressive, high-profile team in the Gooners. He made a massive he made a massive impression.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Lewis Skelly. He was holding onto his shirt. Even he's a fan of Kudus because he wanted that shirt. He kept grabbing it from all angles, left, right, and center to try and get hold of him, but he still couldn't get hold of him. Kudus still wriggled away. Do you know what I mean? But it's true, right? And
that one done me there.
Johnson's got a job on his hand to come in and now kind of go, because we've all been singing Johnson ole. Okay, fine. but now you've got to come in and step up, right? You've got to come in and show us something else. And I would say about someone like Johnson, does he become, does he start getting converted into becoming like a second striker, a shadow striker, somebody that kind of, if we go two up front, does he sit off someone like Solanke? Do you know what I mean? Does he, because he's more of a goal scorer than he is a dribbler and a battler on that wing. So there's loads of adaptation, and there's loads of requirements that need to be met now. We've set a standard today.
But let's start good against Newcastle, man.
And it's up to that. It's up to those that come in to put the, not to be fearful, but to put their stamp on the game and see what they bring against a good Newcastle side.
Yeah.
So of course the score at half-time was 1-0. Many Spurs fans were very, very happy at half-time. Arsenal fans looked absolutely miserable inside the stadium this evening. After 57 minutes, though, Arsenal did have a good chance, good move, resulting in an Odegaard shot, which was then blocked by the Tottenham Hotspur defence. A minute later, another good move from Arsenal, Martinelli hitting it over the bar. Thomas Frank then made a treble sub in the 63rd minute. And as you mentioned there, Ricky, a number of changes by Thomas Frank. I think it was 7 subs in the second half in total. And I think you're absolutely spot on by saying that a number of Spurs players that haven't had many minutes tonight will have it against Newcastle on Sunday. So in the 63rd minute, Romero, Mohamed Kudus and Richarlison all went off. Danso, Johnson and Tell all coming on. 3 minutes later, a good cross from the left-hand side. Van der Ven, unlucky not to make it 2-0. It just went wide. On 69 minutes, Arsenal went close again, shot over the bar. Kenny, Arsenal tonight, what did you make of them overall? Because it didn't really seem to test Vicario and didn't really seem to have their shooting boots on.
Well, it's one of those things is that you played us perfectly. You're relentless off the ball. I've never seen a Spurs side this relentless off the ball for a long, long time. Last time you were that relentless was under Poch. Where you were, it was hard to play against you because you just had athletes and you had cutting edge as well, which was really hard to play. And there was a time when you had double figures in the 2017 season from about 3 or 4 players. This Spurs side obviously is not that kind of side, but we just couldn't break it down. We couldn't break it down. You doubled up on Saka. You know, you gave us enough. You didn't give us any joy when we went down the left. You forced Odegaard to sort of like go deeper and deeper and deeper. So every time he tried to get and make those penetrating passes, there was no written pass. So you pushed him back where he's at to play the diving ball, and you read everything. Moreira was brilliant. Van der Ven, I will say one thing: keep him fit. Whatever you do, keep that guy fit. He's class, mate. You know, if you want to do something nice this season, you've got to keep that guy fit, because I thought he was fantastic today. Romero, you know, he was disciplined. No, he wasn't panicking. And I have to admit, I was really quite impressed with Vicario, because I always thought that he was a weak link on crosses and set pieces. Well, he's improved, you know, quite considerably. I thought I was impressed with him in the final. And it's one of the things where Kai Havertz is Kai Havertz. You know, either it comes off, it doesn't come off. I thought that, you know, you dealt with him really well. And I thought in midfield, I was out with Norwood. Norwood kept it simple. He played very professionally. When Zuameni came on, yeah, he was okay, but the game was done by then. And when Enquiries came on, I think Enquiries was just there to, you know, he was there to basically pay the entrance fee of the Arsenal fans, get him on. He was never going to do anything. You know, it was one of the things where he just gave him a run out, where he just ran. I don't think he actually touched the ball really. So it's one of the things where still loads of questions, but answers will be provided if we start signing sort of players. You know, we get Eze. We really need Eze for his creative spark, because, you know, what the game told us today is that, yeah, there's still a blueprint, and we can't crack that code. You know, kind of like the getting them on, you know, like the low block code. It's just we just can't do it. So we're going to definitely need some personnel. So Man United, you don't know what Man United's going to turn up, but I would think that we'll have more creativity by that time. Because if we don't, then it's long season again for us.
I'm glad Kenny touched on the fact about us on set pieces, because even during this, you know, pre-season so far, and it hasn't, you know, been that long, only been a couple of weeks, as Ricky said, since Thomas Frank has actually been in the door. You know, there has been a major difference in terms of attacking and defending set pieces. Gary, let's come to you. On 77 minutes, Son, Basuma and Davis all came on. Bergvall, Odegaard and Van der Ven all went off. What do you make of the situation with the captaincy with Christian Romero and Son? A lot of people, particularly, you know, a lot of people I've spoken to at the game today or in the last couple of days, a lot of people believe that Heung-min Son will play his last game against Newcastle on Sunday in South Korea. Do you have that belief?
I think so. You know, I think it's going to be his time now. Although, you know, his body language and stuff, some of the other friendly games and that, he's not really been smiling as much as everything else. But one thing I would say about him today, which I was quite surprised about, when he came on, as you remember, he did a run down the left, and it was a little bit like the old Son, because for a lot of time I've been saying like he's lost his pace and there's no spinning, but he looked pretty sharp, and it made me sort of stop and think. I don't know if it's more hope, because I'd like Son to stay for another season, but I think he's going to go, Chris. I really do. I think probably after Newcastle, that'll be it. You know, he's done his game in Hong Kong. We'll do the Newcastle one. You know, for obvious reasons, we kept him there. But then I think that will probably be it. And look, I mean, just thank God he's leaving, you know, after some success finally. You know, 10 years. If it had been leaving after 10 years and we'd won nothing, it'd have been just, you know, like Harry Kane did. I mean, at least you could say Son was, you know, he was faithful to the club the whole time. But I think he'll go. I think he'll go, and I'm all right with that now, if I'm honest with you. But solely because we won the trophy for him, you know, or he won it for us.
Yeah. On 79 minutes, Arsenal had another chance, which they hit over the bar. And then on 84 minutes, we made another double sub. It was actually 8 subs in total, not 7, like I said earlier. So Maddison and Gray came on, and then Sarr and Bentancur went off. Ricky, where does James Maddison fit in this Thomas Frank system? Do you think he's going to get a number of minutes? Because there were a lot of times last season under Ange Postecoglou where he was left on the bench.
Yeah, but it's going to be another season of proving himself under Thomas Frank and in the Thomas Frank system. I think Frank will appreciate his qualities and what he does bring. I think he won't have to go so far into the defence, into the midfield as he was under Ange. But he does have creativity. He does have an eye for a pass, and he can create something out of nothing. But I think he's going to have to step up to the mark, and I think that he's going to be challenged. I think the one healthy thing, again, and I know I've said healthy a lot during this podcast, but the one healthy thing, again, is that we're not going to rely on him this year. I think we're bringing somebody in to challenge, as well as having Kulusevski to come back. But the talks are he's not coming back until December, January. So, you know, there is a position there for him, but he's going to have to fight for it, and he's going to have to show he's best for us. And I think a motivated, fit, fighting Maddison can be a very dangerous player, and can be the player that we all hoped him to be. But with rotation and with people challenging him, just like the goalkeeper, he's going to have to step up his mark, and he's going to have to put down his marker. Like, if he gets any time, which he should do, but I'm going to guess 30 to 40 minutes against Newcastle, second half probably, he's going to have to start making his mark, and then it's up to him. But at least we are not in a position where if he's not there, then we've all got our head in our hands. You know, you look at what Bergvall done today. Very energetic, very nippy. He done really good kind of 1-2 passes. He'd get it, give it quick, and he'd move. Get it, give it quick, and he'd move. And maybe he didn't have the shots on goal, or maybe he didn't have that amazing magical pass opportunity today. But what he did do, by making certain runs, he pulled Gooner defenders and players out of position to allow somebody else to run into it. And his energy and tenacity, I think, gave the Gooners something to think about. You know, there was like, oh, we've got to be careful, or we've got to keep our eye on him. And I think his movement and his energy allowed other players to play. So, you know, when Maddison does come in, it's a whole new fight for him. It's a whole new journey for him. And again, it's up to him. I think he missed out on the final last year, and I think that hurt him. But you could see how much he was happy and proud to be a part of Tottenham Hotspur at that moment. I think he would think of himself as, if someone like Sonny goes, someone to step up in that senior role, somebody to step up in that Mr. Tottenham role to kind of start guiding the young ones. But you can only do that with proper big boy performances. We need oppositions to be frightened of Maddison and our front line. But at the moment, I think people are kind of indifferent. I think people are still taking the impression of Maddison, what he gave last season within the league, which wasn't much because of injury. But I don't think people worry about him, and I think that's what he's got to do with this preseason and the beginning of this season under Thomas, is make himself somebody that the opposition worry about him. They're like, oh goodness, if we don't like get 2 men on Maddison, or if we don't shut him down finding those passes, then that's a problem for us. And that's where I think that he needs to go. But it's up for grabs right now. It's up for grabs. But it's not going to be kind of guaranteed because you're a senior player, you're going to start. You got to earn it. And that's what I also like about what Frank's brought to the table. He's making sure every player earns it, and he doesn't care who he takes out or who he, has to kind of give a talking to. You're all the same, and you're all going to be a unit. And the one thing that you need to do is give your all and give your absolute best every time you step out onto that pitch. So that goes for Maddison too.
Right, so last question for you all. What does Spurs need in this transfer window, in the remaining 32 days left of this summer window, in order to fight on all fronts? As Daniel Levy, as the board, Vinay Venkatesham, the new CEO, and Thomas Frank, they've all said it. Before we do, though, Kenny, there's a comment here from Robert, and it says, Chris, do you go on Gooner shows and get bantered like this, like we've done to you? Do you remember when Spurs lost at the Emirates, and I was walking around the Emirates to go home? Very fast, actually. Very fast walking. And then literally you and a couple of other guys literally just stuck this camera in my face and said, Chris, what do you think of the game today?
Well, the thing about it is that I've watched the show for quite a lot of times because it's a good show. At first, I have to admit, the first time I saw it, he said, I had to bleach twice. I said, God, he looks like the Poch. And I thought, right, and there was a picture of you in a Poch, and you did look like a Poch. You do look like a Poch. So I started watching it on and off. Obviously, I saw Ricky a lot. I saw Gary ranting a bit, and I've seen you've got all sorts of multitude of guests as well, all from all sorts of Tottenham Hotspur, and you've got a guy who was engaged to Fizz out of Coronation Street, and he was in some of those like those films about the Essex boys, big talk. Yeah. And you had loads of people in there, so that got me watching because I love football. And then when I saw you, I actually thought, I couldn't resist it. Come on, the guy his podcast I watch a lot. Of course, I was going to talk to you about the match. I thought it was actually quite balanced. I said, what do you think about that? It was one of our best performances, and it was a very bad Spurs performance. But guess what? A few months later, you got revenge against us. And you pipped us for the top four. So it all ended well for Spurs in the end that season.
Kenny, let's start the last question with you then. So what does Spurs need in the transfer window for Spurs to be fighting on all fronts?
First and foremost, Spurs need you probably need something. You need something in left back. I think you need a big cover left back because Jay Spence's not a left back. Dogier, who's a very good left back, I think. Is he going to be fit for the whole season? In midfield, you definitely need to freshen up in midfield. You definitely need to break the bank for Morgan Gibbs-White, and you're probably going to need, on the flank, especially you need to replace Song, because he's not the player he was previously. He's just scared the life out of me, by the way. I used to have nightmares about him, probably more nightmares about him than I had about Harry Kane, because he was one of the players that always raised against us. You're losing goals as well. You're losing about 15 or 16 or 17 goals. You need to replace that. And you probably, I don't know. I probably think I'm being asked, but I think you need to get another striker in as well, because I don't think Solanke's fit enough, or probably good enough for Tottenham. So a striker you definitely need some, because with this Champions League, coming along, and with the you being in the team that needs to win a trophy, goals win games, and you've got the perfect manager. He got 52 goals out of Wizard and Burmo and Schneider. Now, if you give him quality in front three, you'll sing this season. Obviously you won't win the league, but you'll be competitive, and goals win games. And with that, if you take away Son's goals, they need to be replaced. You need a striker who's definitely going to get you 15 or 16, even 20 goals. He can do it. He got goals out of out of Ivan Toney in the Premiership. He transferred those goals from the Championship to the Premiership. Watkins he earned that move to Aston Villa. He's scoring loads of goals. This is a guy for strikers. This is the guy who can get you goals, but you need the personnel.
Gary, do you agree with Kenny?
Pretty much exactly what I was going to say. I think 1,000,000% we need a striker. We definitely need a striker. Left back, we need covering left back, and like a kind of a defensive midfield playmaker. So we probably still need to bring in 3 players, but one of them is most definitely 100% a striker. Listen, that's in an ideal world. Are we going to bring 3 players in? I don't think we are, if I'm honest with you. Maybe a couple, that'd be it. But certainly we need a striker. And it's like what Ken said, I think that's why I think some will leave now, and it's a big miss. Look, we can cope. We can get by. We've got, we lost Harry Kane and we finally won a trophy. So it's possible. But he's not an easy man to replace as we've learned with Kane. But we do need probably 3 players in. That's what I would like for us to do. Whether we do that or not is another thing. And look, Kenny's talking about Eze, but we need to be talking about Eze. We need to be getting Eze, and it's going to be a difficult one if we're going up against Arsenal. But that is the player which I've said from day one, ahead of Gibbs-White and Kudus and all these sort of players. Eze is the player that we need in. because whatever club he goes to, he's going to make a massive difference.
I agree.
That is a definite.
Yeah, I agree. And it just seems like both clubs don't want to activate that release clause, which is crazy, because when you think, like Kenny said earlier about the Morgan Gibbs White situation, if we were going to pay £60 million for him, it only seems right, doesn't it, that Crystal Palace could accept 3 instalments of £20 million for Eze. It seems like a no-brainer. Yeah. Ricky, what do you think we need in terms of the transfer window? Because we've heard it a few times now. We want to be fighting on all fronts. 17th isn't good enough in the Premier League. Although Ange won us the trophy, he's still got the sack. So in order to fight on all fronts, realistically, what do we need? On mute, mate.
I think some of the boys have covered it, but I think it's about high quality. So yes, we do need a left back cover, right? We know that. When it comes down to the midfield, I think bringing someone like Paulinho on a loan at his age and experience, I think would be a smart move, just to allow Archie Gray to grow into that position as well, and to learn off of somebody.
Learn
off of somebody like Paulinho. But I would love big danger men up front. Do you know what I mean? Someone like an Openda. I know people were talking about Sesko from RB Leipzig, but I think someone that is nippy, quick, somebody who's similar to Wissa, but younger, more energetic, a bit more of an athlete in there. I think someone like an Openda would be fantastic up front with Solanke challenging. And then, we're talking about Sonny. And we all love Sonny. I love Sonny to bits, and I think that's going to be that. If he does, I thought he was staying, but if he does go, then I think that is going to be one of the ones that emotionally it's going to be a drench for him to leave, right? But if he does go, then I think that we need to bring in a big boy that can either play on that left or in the middle, either or. Someone like a Leao, someone like a Mikel Kedzi from Lyon. That could be he's a Georgian player, very skillful, plays in that hole, plays in the number 10, but can switch it about a bit as well, but very technical and a danger man, like, one touch shooting and stuff like that. And I think that could create some danger in there as well. So I think whatever comes in, it has to be of high quality. And if we do bring in 3 players, let's say a striker, a winger, and somebody in midfield, I think that we've got to go and spend that money. Do you know what I mean? Not just the transfer fee, but be willing to pay the wages to get in that level of quality. Because at this moment in time, we've got a manager who has shown that he can, as we've said throughout this podcast, that has shown that what he can do with a 5 million player and what he can turn a 5 million player into. So give him the opportunity, give him a 50 million pound player, give him a 60, 70, 80 million pound player. Let's see what he can do with that. That could be, that could be dreamland. And I don't mind talking about the delusional dreamland right now. I'm that guy. I'm that fan. I don't mind. But those are the levels that I think that we need to do. Exactly what Kenny said earlier about, winning something and then just being like, yay, and then letting it just taper off. And
go for 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, like we can't do that. This is an opportunity. This is the moment with Champions League football there, with a new manager that is very much an improver of players, but very much a philosopher and a professor of tactics and different styles and different ways to play against different opposition. It's time to invest. And if we've got this investment coming in with stadium rights and naming rights and all of that jazz, then please use it and go out there and make the big boy signings that can actually take us to a different level. And the same way that a lot of opposition fans were going crazy about Morgan Gibbs White, potentially signing for us. People are like, oh my gosh, what's happening to Tottenham? What's happening here? Which we was as well, because
I didn't see that one coming.
We're linked with him, and 2 hours later he was supposed to be having a medical, and I was like, what's happening here? First time ever it's happened for Tottenham. We act like
it goes wrong.
Big club, and obviously we come unstuck. But go out there and do that, man. Go out there and do that and take us to the next level. And the very last thing that I'll say about Sonny, like watching him, there's been a few moments when we launched the black kit. there was a video of him coming into the training center and taking the pictures. Didn't look like himself. Didn't walk like himself. He didn't greet people with the same smile or the same heart that he normally does. The first friendly that he played, yes, he looked a bit off, but again, it was his movement on the pitch. I was looking at him interacting with some of the players. He was complaining about his back, and there was a point where he was, Frank was talking to him, and he didn't even look up. He was doing his laces, and I'm looking, and that ain't Sonny. Do you know what I mean?
Nah.
And so when I've seen certain things like this, I go, why? Because we all know that he loves us, and we all know as being a Europa League champion winning captain, that he would be bouncing through the doors, ready to meet the challenge. So part of me feels that he's been disrespected in some way, and that's why he's staying quiet and respectful. I think that's some way, shape, or form. Whether that's like, look, Sonny, you're not going to be the main man, you're going to have a bit part, or it's up to you if you leave, or there's something that's been said or done that has hurt his heart a little bit, and I think that is being seen in his body language. It was good to see him smiling and playing with a smile on his face in those last 10 minutes, and even when we finished and we won it, you got to see for a flash, the old school Sonny smiling on his face, cracking joke with Davies and Maddison and some of the boys, and that was nice to see. So I do think it's in a balance. I would love him to stay, but look, it's up to him. If he does go, I will love him to bits, and that would be like for me, it'd be tougher than losing Kane. And I know that's a crazy thing to say, but
I'm the same. I'm the same.
Yeah, no, he's shown so much loyalty, and he's shown so much will, and he's been through with us through the toughest of times, and through the times that this ship was sinking, and on its way down, he's like, no, I'm staying on the boat, and I will always love him.
Thank God he won the Europa League, though, man. Thank God.
And the way that he lifted that trophy, and the way that he celebrated with that trophy, I will always love him for that.
Yeah, I'm just pleased he got the parade.
Yeah, man. But if he does go, you've got to bring somebody like a big boy in. I think Olivier done well. He put a marker down himself today. He looked a lot stronger, like I say, and a lot more free within his body. But go out there, spend that money, spend that stadium rights, naming rights money, whatever investment we're getting, go and put it into some of those big boys that can make it a real difference in the building of this new squad right now.
Ricky, thanks so much for joining us this evening. I know I did tell Gary it was going to be about an hour podcast, and it's nearly, we're getting on to 2 hours.
As if Gary believed him, though.
And do you know what? There are so many things that I feel like I need to cover, and there's so many things that we haven't covered this evening, but we're going to have to do it on the next one. So because I can't record any longer, I'm literally going to get on a plane shortly to go to South Korea. So and it's 3 a.m. here. So I've got to get some sleep at some point. But thank you so much for joining us. Your insights are always fantastic. And we look forward to having you on again very soon. What are you up to at the moment? And where can people find you?
People know where they can find me. I'm normally on Twitter /X. I'm at Ricky J Norwood, and that's where you'll get most of my Tottenham stuff. On Instagram, it's mostly about life and acting and bits and pieces that I'm doing, and that's official Ricky Norwood. There's loads of things in the pipeline. Once they are ready to be announced, I will let you all know. But it's always an honor and a pleasure, and especially during pre-season, to be able to speak to Chris across the water and all of you beautiful people around the world that love and support and comment and subscribe and like and share and all of those things around the world. It's always good to be on a show like this, and appreciate you beautiful fans. All of you that turned up into that in that stadium today, thank you. Keep waving that flag, keep wearing the shirt, keep singing the songs. We love you, we appreciate you. You guys are amazing. I love fans that love us from across the world. Do you know what I mean? It blows my mind. Yeah. But at the same time, it's super, super special. So thank you all. It's always a pleasure and an honor, and I can't wait to the next one.
Thank you, Ricky. We'll see you again soon. And Kenny, thanks so much for coming on, taking all of our banter.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, Dave. I love going on your show. Remember, I was the one who approached you first, and I kind of knew what was coming. I think you know, maybe I've been a bit smug when I've been in the channel, unintentionally. Here we go again. He's doing it again and again and again, unintentionally. But this has been like, I think I've always been realistic about Arsenal. Maybe I'm being punished for a few Arsenal fans who get carried away with themselves. You know, telling everyone that they're going to win everything from the boat race to the World Cup, the club championships. You know what I mean? But the other day, I think I'm talking about a good mate of mine who I went places with called Ty. He's like mad Arsenal. You want to talk about a madman Arsenal fan? Just talk to him. But it's going to be a big season for Arsenal. I'm going to tell you now, keep watching, because you're going to. If we don't win anything, there's going to be anarchy. There's going to be insanity. There's going to be division. You thought it was bad under Arsene Wenger. I know you guys are going to be there for it. Who knows? You might even excuse not winning a trophy. You see us having meltdowns. You know you love it, don't you?
Kenny, you are always welcome on here to talk about Spurs or have a meltdown. So whatever you want to do, you're very, very welcome. And it's so funny.
No, you haven't won a Champions League yet.
You've had so much love in the comments today from Spurs fans
loads.
saying that, you know,
they're all friends and family. They're all friends and family. I always give them a head up, you know, say nice things about me, because a lot of people in the Arsenal, I'll say mean, horrible, childish things about me. They say
they want you to be a channel regular. So do you want to come on the podcast for any Tottenham Premier League games?
No, I don't think so. I'll stick to watching it a match of the day.
Listen, let's not push it, gents. Let's not push it.
No, but you know what it is, right? I'll tell you one thing right now. There's one thing I love just as much as watching Arsenal, is watching Spurs play, getting all excited, praying they will lose, and then when they're thrashing the team, you're thinking, why did I can't get that 90 minutes back that I lost? But when you lose, that 90 minutes fantastic. I'm watching the highlights and the highlights of the highlights if you lot lose.
Kenny, what if, right? I'll leave you with this. What if Spurs won the Super Cup final against PSG on the 13th of August? What would you be doing then?
That'd be humiliating. Do you realise did you see how comfortably PSG beat us? We were going into the game thinking because we beat Madrid, we won a tournament, and then they served us up, and then they get beaten by Chelsea. Now, if you lot beat them, that's just even more humiliating. 2 trophies in 2025. Stop this insanity. Stop this silliness. It's not meant to be the way of the world. The order of the world is Spurs win nothing, and I smile.
Well, we all know what's coming. Kenny will be back on the show if and when we beat PSG on the 13th of August.
Oh, come on. You've got enough Spurs fans to ask. You don't need me.
Oh, no, it's more fun bantering you all the time. It's good fun.
Hey. Yeah. Okay, right. You do it again.
Gary, thank you so much. Sorry for the 2.5 hours.
No, don't be sorry, mate. I'm more sorry for you. I don't know how you've done it the last few months, man. Like, honestly, since we've won, if you count up how much sleep you've lost, since we've won the build-up of the day before the Europa League to winning it, and then today and tonight, how many hours sleep have you lost, Chris? It's crazy.
Listen, when Spurs win a trophy, whether it's on pre-season or a big European trophy, you don't need sleep. You just get on.
No. Listen, I've got to say a couple of things very quickly. One is about Kenny Kane, because earlier I said to my missus, she goes, you're on a podcast with, I said, Ricky, Norwood, Chris, Kenny Kane. She went, oh, that's the Arsenal fan you quite like, isn't it? You don't mind him because you say he talks sense. And I said, you know what? I don't mind him. He talks sense. And Kenny, in the comments today, and big up to all the guys in the comments, because I've only just learned how to sort of scroll through and read these. And these have been keeping me entertained. You know when Ricky does his 25 minutes sort of goes off on one, which I love, Ricky. I'll be listening to Ricky and then just scrolling through his comments. And there's too many names to mention here, but honestly, the guys in the chat, you know, women, guys, you know, young, old, they're absolutely amazing. And a lot of them have been saying really complimentary stuff about you, Kenny. They really have.
It makes a change. It makes a change. I'm
it's
part
brilliant.
of Rat Army. Not many people like Rat Army, which is me, Lee, Jez, DJB. We they don't like our message.
Yeah.
Gary, you say about how long these podcasts are, but you and Ricky keep asking Kenny questions. I'm trying to keep it moving.
But
right,
that's
go
the
to
problem.
bed,
If you got me
Chris,
and
go
Ricky
to bed.
on the show together, that's what's going to happen, isn't it? It's like an omnibus of EastEnders, isn't it? There's so much drama. It's brilliant.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes. Yes.
You know what? Yeah, I've got a thing to put you to sleep. You know what's going to put you to sleep?
Go on.
Go and watch Spurs under Jerry Francis. That put you to sleep.
Oh yeah, you're right, mate. That put me to sleep. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I've been telling people for years, Kenny, that the trophies are coming, and we've got now 2 this year, and hopefully it'll be a third on the 13th of August. But we're not getting carried away, and hopefully it could be an FA Cup, a League Cup, or even the Champions League.
But we're not getting carried away.
Don't get carried away, no. Right. I'm off to South Korea, so I will see you in Seoul. And then we will see you for another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast on Sunday after hopefully we've had a positive result and a positive performance against Newcastle United. Gary, Ricky, Kenny, thank you so much for all of your time. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed this. And remember that all of these podcasts are also available on all audio platforms. And thank you for all of your incredible support. We will see you soon. Stay safe and well. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.